I wanted to react to this video, how a wildly successful game destroyed itself in 10 days by Muujin.
$1.
I'm actually interested. The only thing I know about Love in Deep Space is that it's a gooner game for girls though, which is like when it comes to gachas, man, gooners pay the most. Every character has to appeal to someone. If it appeals to no one, then it's not making money, is it?
For every
Holy, this is kind of loud. I don't know if it is for anyone else. Turn it on my end though. I'm so
time a Chinese gacha game player showed up to the development studio of their favorite game while holding a knife with the intention of assassinating staff there,
What?
then I'd be at least $2.
Somebody tried to assassinate Da Wei? Wait, okay. Was it someone from the Hoyoverse community? Or was it a Curlbot? Cause the only community I see doing this is like Genshin. Only Genshin players would go this far for their chud game.
Richer. And what's crazy here is that this second dollar would be given to me as recently
Was it this guy?
as June 2026, when that exact thing happened. But as a bonus, it also came bundled with a package of literal cow shit, vandalism, and a large police.
Was it this guy? Was it this guy?
Exact.
Let me just stop
thing
pausing
happened.
and
But as a
keep
bonus,
going before I
it
say
also came
something
bundled
that
with
doesn't
a
make
package
sense.
of literal cow shit, vandalism,
Bro,
and
what?
a large police response. Love in Deep
nasty as
Space
hell, boy.
is the most successful.
Okay, listen. I don't want to put this out, bro. My sister had an obsession with this game, and it disgusted me. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? No matter how gooner gachas get, you can't tell me Nikkei. Okay, maybe not Nikkei. You can't tell me ZZZ, Woowa, any of those other games are more gooner than this. You're literally kissing them. You're taking part in sexual activity with these fellas. They don't do that in the big gachas, okay? They don't do that.
Targeting gacha game of all time. Easily able to earn tens
see
of
what I mean?
millions of dollars on any given month of the year.
Do you see what I mean?
Without exaggeration,
And they're
the
the females are self-inserting as the girl, by the way.
of the world with no
letting you know.
competition whatsoever until one day they decide to shoot themselves in the foot with a fully loaded shotgun.
How?
1 week after announcing the biggest update the game has had in a very
is making
long
me
time,
uncomfortable.
they do something unprecedented, going back on their word and canceling the entire update. The immeasurable disappointment
What?
their
So they just canceled an
community
update?
felt would spark one of the biggest and most impressive global efforts in gacha game history, uniting people all across the globe to buy up entire city billboards, donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity, and even convincing Queso, of all people, to spread awareness about this injustice. And bear in mind, this is all
What?
truly nothing more than the tip of this iceberg, as it's easily one of the most complex topics I have ever covered on this channel. But it's not like I had a choice, seeing that my own community had left over 14,000
So the Gooners were mad because they decided not to release one of their sexy hot new male characters. Okay, for me to understand this, I need to put myself in their shoes. Let's just imagine, right? Ramiel, the new character coming out in ZZZ, which I will be pulling for, twitch.tv/ did not come out. Imagine she didn't come out. And that's going to be our new love interest. Yeah, I would be kind of pissed. But would I try and go kill Da Wei because of it? I don't think so.
messages about this topic in my Discord server, and even went as far as compiling an amazing Google Doc about it. And so,
Google
why did this
Donkey, he's not even
money-printing
that hot,
machine
by the
decide
way.
to destroy itself?
Hot
And
take.
how did this become a worldwide...
Like, bro, I gotta look this guy up. I gotta look this guy up. Let's see. Why, why did Baby No Money show up? This guy. Bro, you're playing. You're playing with me, bro. We got a wolf boy. This is who you're tweaking over? If I was gay, this might be a different story, but man, he's not even that hot. And when you compare him to like Kalius or whatever that other guy is, like it just there's no diffs, bro. How are you crying over that?
phenomenon? Well, without further ado, let's do this. Alright, so most people agree that the first gacha game came out in 2010.
I recognize this music. This is LeBron James's shop from ZZZ. In Phaleum Heights. The guy on the corner store next to Sweaty. He sells you stuff and cosmetics. And sometimes polychromes, but I already did all that. Yep.
Was developed by
when
Konami.
unemployment
it was called
benefits
Dragon
you.
Collection. The best way to describe it was kind of like a knockoff Pokemon, where you went from dungeon to dungeon and collected as many monsters as possible. And in between certain levels, you'd receive a luck-based treasure chest that has the ability of giving you some really rare items that can boost your stats like crazy. And if you wanted to open more of these treasure chests now without having to go through other levels, then you could pay money to buy them. This simple mechanic that wasn't really popular at the time would change Konami forever. By 2012, their console game sales were slipping, but their social games on social platforms like Greed, meant to be played on mobile like Dragon Collection, were defying every single expectation. By 2012, Konami's net income was up 80% thanks to this game and other games on social platforms. And this made other developers, of course, take notice. Why is Konami making so much money? How can we incorporate this into our games?
Is this how Gacha was born? I'm kind of slow. Actually, hold on. Keep watching, idiot.
Gacha would start to take over Japan, but it would remain in Japan for a while because, well, the entire concept was from there. The word gacha comes from the word gacha,
yes,
which is
oh my god! Every
essentially
time
a
I see
vending
those
machine that you
machines,
can
bro.
find in many different places in
Oh,
Japan,
something
with each one
inside
having
me
a
just
different
wants to go
themed
over
set
there.
of toys, figurines,
$40
etc.
per. Whoa! Like America money? These aren't US dollars, right? Oh hell nah, bruh. No, the gacha machines I saw were like a couple cents, man. What is
And after
this?
placing money in it, essentially buying a pull,
Hell
you'd be
nah.
receiving something randomly from that set. Now, of course, some items in that set will have a very low drop rate, making them rare and very sought after. And the whole point is to keep buying pulls until you get what you want. And that's kind of how gacha games work. Now, as I said, gacha games would remain niche and would...
Oh my god, it's my favorite game, Genshin Impact! I have a crazy story to tell. I mean, not crazy, but... Damn, Amber looks so what?
On Japan,
Alright, sorry. Yo, I'm really salty with my relationship with Genshin. Like, I guess I was never meant to like this game.
For the longest time. But this, of course, would all change.
I recognize this music too. It's from ZZZ.
In 2020, when
I'm
Genshin
actually
Impact
so
would come
unemployed,
out
it's
and bring
nasty.
gacha into the mainstream. Now, of course, it was helped quite a bit by releasing mid-pandemic as everyone was locked up in their homes. But one could argue
Dude,
that the reason why
I
it
could have
succeeded so
ridden this wave and become one of the best streamers of all time if I wasn't so stupid. I should have gotten a job. I should have gotten a PC, and I should have streamed Genshin. How old was I when Genshin came out? I was in 2020. I was like, I'm not gonna lie. I was like 12 or 13. Ooh. Oh
was
my
because it
god.
felt like a full-fledged game with gacha mechanics, rather than gacha mechanics with a game built around it. Due to all these elements combined, it still holds the Guinness World Record for fastest mobile game to reach $1 billion in revenue, achieving
That's
this
nasty.
feat in 178 days. And just to really illustrate how crazy this was, the previous record holder for this Guinness World Record was Pokemon Go. And that's not all,
Bro,
because Genshin
Pokemon
Impact also
Go.
holds another Guinness World Record, the fastest mobile game to reach $5 billion, which was held by
Damn.
Clash of Clans. And while it did rewrite certain expectations for gacha games, it didn't really rewrite the demographics that it was targeting. Gacha games have always been about targeting the single male with disposable income. One look at the characters that you can spend money on and some of the most popular gacha games in
Hold on, we're gonna do a little something here.
disposable income. One look at the characters
Smash, 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 smash. Pass. Don't know. No. Probably not. Smash, smash. Nah, nah. Smash, smash. No, smash. Smash, question mark. Smash.
that you can
Next.
spend money on and some of the most popular
You know, Acheron was the first character I pulled in Honkai Star Rail. So she really holds a special part in my heart.
gacha
Okay,
games in
focus on the
existence, and you
video. You're
understand
actually
very
stupid.
quickly that the targeted demographic has not changed. You don't even need to take my word for it. The CEO
way.
of Hoyoverse, the developer behind Genshin Impact, would, as far back as 2011, talk about this topic to investors. He'd say that the otaku have been suffering from huge psychological pressure and that they hope that they can play their games easily so that they can enjoy this feeling of being saved. He would then say that the games that they're
What?
making were specifically made for touchable devices because of a fairly innovative feature they came up with, which is
So
the
wait.
touch feature.
So basically what he's saying is Dawei is the Jesus Christ of Gacha.
Yep, it's fairly
Okay.
straightforward. This was from one of their
Yo,
first
oh my god. Wait, I'm sorry. This is bringing back so many memories. Oh my god, I missed this game. But isn't this game like dead now? Or like, bro, I stopped playing before part 2 came out.
major
That's
games
all.
called
That's all I
Honkai
remember.
Impact, and you could pretty much touch the very hot women that you can pull for, and they'll react to it, which will also increase your friendship level with them, just like real life. But if you've played
Oh,
gacha
this
games,
is how
if
we
you've
get
come
into
across
the-
this logic, then you must
the
have taken a
parasocial
step back at
connection
some point and asked yourself, yeah, I get
between
it,
the
the established
characters.
demographic is men, but what about women? Yes, there's a lot of men that are lonely out there.
Who thought this? Who was like, oh, you know, oh, the men, oh, they're all gooners. Oh, you know what? What if I could make it for women? That's how billionaires think, buddy.
That would want companionship from
That's
a hot
how I
waifu.
need to think.
But let's not pretend that women don't want the same thing. I mean, come on.
But I'm facing the same problem. I can only appeal to men. Like I'm asking the same question. How do I appeal to women? Like that shit's impossible. Like I'm so serious. There have been multiple trans and gay men who want to DM me more than girls actually do, which has almost never happened. Like it's actually such a depressing feeling. Like this is why I play Gacha today, because the only woman that will ever love me are
And have you
digital
seen
ones
some of the
that
books
Dawei
that some
creates.
women read? One could argue that in some cases they're even freakier than men. So where were the
False.
gacha games that were catering to their needs? Because they also had disposable income, and it seemed like no one was tapping into that. At least, not successfully. You see, there's always been a type of game that's existed since the early 2000s called an otome game, a story-based romance video game targeted towards women. Yes, these games would be monetized. They had varying degrees of success, but they were also
Wait, hold
extremely
on.
niche.
Hoyo did try to tap into this. Hold on. I remember. We're gonna go ahead and act like this never existed. Tears of Themis. Yeah, this is this is like when Hoyoverse is like the parent that reunites with their family and shows them like all of their kids. And then they like Tears of Themis is like that kid that they never bring up because he's like an outcast. Like this is what this game is. Who plays this, man? This is horrendous. Wait, who is this supposed to be the main character? Nuke the whole generation, bro.
Never able to truly reach
the whole
a mainstream
generation.
audience. There would be multiple attempts by multiple developers to
Yep,
make a
Tears of
gacha game
Themis,
centered around
right
the
there.
otome genre, but none would truly stand out. For
Yep.
example, even Hoyoverse, before releasing Genshin Impact, would
pre-fired
release a
this,
game
by the
called
way.
Tears of Themis, targeting the female demographic specifically while incorporating a gacha system around it. And guess what? It didn't really work out that well. It had released in China in July of 2020 and then globally on July 2021. And honestly,
Is the game still alive?
the revenue right now is so low.
Damn. So wait, what
it
did
can barely make a dent.
what did
in
Love
the
in Deep Space do to like win everyone
other
over?
titles?
I don't know.
Like, it can't even make 10% of what Genshin Impact or Honkai
Damn.
Star Rail are making right now. And so the logic was, for many developers, that if even Hoyoverse can't make a successful otome game targeting the female demographic,
You know why he's showing them at 3 and 4 right here? Because Pokemon TCG and Love and Deep Space are at the top. But this is only mobile charts, if I'm 100%. 100%. Yeah, you get it. So, and Love and Deep Space is only available on mobile, if I'm correct. So,
then
yeah.
who can? Well, that's where the developer Paper Games came in. Now here's the deal. Paper Games has been around for a while. Their first game came out in December 2012 in China. It was called Nikki Up to You, a Dressing Story, and from day one,
Infinity
they were
Nikki
targeting
1?
women. This was a dress-up game that was made for them. By 2015, they would release another game
Okay.
called Love Nikki, and for the first time would expand into Japan, the biggest gacha market. In 2017, they would start taking a
Alright.
step in other directions by releasing the game Mr. Love Queen's Choice, a fairly standard
Another unemployed comment. This is a remix version of the 6th Street theme. Okay. Enough!
2D otome game. Now yes, it would be niche and would be fairly successful, but more importantly, it would teach them priceless lessons for their magnum opus, a game that would change everything for them and the industry. In 2020, Paper Games would release a teaser trailer for their upcoming game called
Love in Deep Space.
Deep Space. And for any fans of otome games, for any women out there that were hoping for a next generation experience, this caused a massive earthquake. This was the first 3D otome game to ever exist, and at this level of insane quality. No one had done this before. No one was crazy enough to even come up with this idea. This shook the entire industry to its core, and many were
This is
very
so
interested
goofy.
to see how it would end up performing once it would finally release. Here's the problem though. There was no release date whatsoever. They just dropped this teaser, created a massive earthquake in the industry, and just left. They would literally disappear, and people wouldn't hear any updates from them for years. That would be the reality until 2023, when something would finally come out from the studio, but it wasn't good news at all. News outlets would report that Paper Games was about to take on a loan of $70 million.
What the hell?
And what was really interesting here is that the person giving them that loan was Hoyoverse, the creators of
What?
Genshin Impact. It turned out that Paper Games had overextended itself and was developing too many titles at once.
Who knew? Who knew? Them funding Love in Deep Space would be the nail on Tears of Themis' coffin. Who knew? Oh yeah, here, have the money.
And ran out of money. So they asked Hoyoverse for
They
a
gotta
loan,
let that
and
game go,
Hoyoverse
bro.
Gave it. But the collateral was really interesting. If Paper Games had failed to pay Hoyoverse back their money by the agreed upon date,
Uh-oh.
then Hoyoverse would get 10% of Paper Games' share, effectively owning 10% of the entire company. At the time, people didn't really know what to think. This was a massive loan, and Paper Games was not making anywhere near close that money.
It's a
What
lot of
people didn't know,
zeros.
though, was that the plan was simple. Internally, they were hoping to repay this loan by releasing Love in Deep Space. They were banking everything on the success of that game, and it was about to come out on January 2024. However, even with so much riding on this game's success, no one, whether it be from the staff or the executive
he's
team
kinda
or the
hot.
CEO himself, could have ever
shit.
predicted the ridiculous success that this game would find all across the globe. This game's impact on the otome game genre was like what Genshin Impact did for gacha games. In 2024, Paper Games
Okay.
made over $1 billion
J-
And you bet your ass that they repaid Hoyoverse every single dollar of that loan amount. It had done what so many others had attempted to do, but failed, bringing this genre to the mainstream and incorporating gacha mechanics within it too. But why?
Yo, okay. We all know the male gooners go above and beyond female gooners. We all know it. So why can't there be a love in deep space for guys? Why are they not tapping into this? It's always this gacha game where you're the main character and you can pick and choose to be a boy or a girl, or you're a boy, but we'll never actually give you a relationship with these characters because like bro. Either that or they give you a cringe relationship with like people with no personality. Oh, master. Yes, master. You don't understand the funnest part of liking someone is their personality and the nuance, right? For me, right? Being in love is probably better than what comes after. You know, like the goal itself. It's like it's the one piece was the friends we made along the way. If that, come on, bro, it has to make sense. It has to make sense. Think about it. Everyone wants girls, but nobody wants to be in a relationship. Okay? I'm so off topic right now. Just get with it.
But no one else.
But you know what I'm saying? Like recently, I played Chaos Zero Nightmare. It's the gameplay is all right. You know, it's fun, but the story is unbearable because everyone just appeals like everyone's always on their knees for me. None of them have that personality, right? It's always okay. Oh, I'm this, but I also have a secret loving for you. It's I'm a nice person, and I'm gonna be upfront about me loving you. It's like we need that process, you know, the true relationship progression experience, bro. For men, we need that. And we need a love in deep space for bro.
Well, for many men,
I still say that's untapped territory.
Was about having a
Come
power
on.
fantasy, collecting sexy and strong characters that will progress through a story that centers around them. Thing is, though, women don't really want that. Love and Deep Space offered them something different. A game centered around being individually known and cared for. It played more like a 3D dating simulator that caters to your needs. Like a genuine routine that becomes a part of your day rather than just a traditional gacha game. And here's how it would do that. The game...
This guy. Oh! This guy. Man. The ladies would die for this one.
Would initially release with 3 different love interests.
I've already
Zane,
seen people
Raphael, and
tweak
Xavier.
out for that.
And Silas would release right after, with Caleb joining the rest of
Oh
the
wait, never mind. It wasn't that guy. They just all looked the same.
cast
Never
in
mind.
2025. There would be a million different ways of being able to interact with them in-game, making them truly feel like, well, they're real. While you're in-game, they would call you through a video call, you'd be able to text them, and sometimes, I mean, this
Like,
is a Silas
bro.
thing, but he would call you his kitten. When it would be your birthday,
Let me write that down.
they would all individually take the time to celebrate it and would sing you happy birthday or do some other things for you. And of course, you could go on dates with them, spending quality time while able to do a variety of different activities together. But I feel like what would really take it to the next level was how developers would keep adding features that made this game a part of your daily routine. Other gachas asked you to log in every day to get rewards, but here, you were being asked to log in to make your life easier. Like for example, look at this feature called Remind Me, where you'd get a notification on your phone from your favorite love interest,
Hey darling. You forgot to do your Duolingo. Let's do it together. Watashi wa Cyrus desu ne.
You have something important to you, like, I don't know, someone's birthday, or the fact that you have an important meeting coming up. And there'd be this other feature that would come out as well that you might have heard of called the period tracker. Now look, there are a lot of period tracker apps
Oh my god,
out
I
there.
heard about this. I heard about this. Oh! This was like, if all right, if my memory serves me right, this was like insanely successful. Them putting a, I can't believe I
For
would.
women to keep track of their periods. But Love in Deep Space was like, you know what, dude? This game is a part of your daily routine, so might as well have that feature too. So when you would get close to your period or your first day of your period would arrive, you'd have your favorite love interest point that out and vow to take care of you while giving you extra attention while you deal with cramps from the seventh circle
Oh
of hell.
my god,
Interestingly
bro.
enough, this whole period tracker thing was some sort of a Twitter controversy when it came out back in early 2025. Some people would call Love in
remember
Deep Space
this.
a Gooner game for having a period tracker. But that's just Twitter being Twitter.
Bro.
Because if you're going to call this a Gooner game, might as well talk about the scenes where you're being figuratively railed. That's right. Let's talk about monetization. How was this a gacha game? Well, you weren't pulling for the characters. You'd be pulling for something called memories. You'd meet the characters through the main story. So in
What?
other words, they'd be available to you for
Wait,
free.
so I'm gonna pre-fire this. You pull for Gooner scenes, if I'm correct. You pull okay. You pull for this scene where he is licking your ear while feeling on your butt, on your tush. He's licking you right here, just grabbing it. You know?
Memories are these special
That's great
3D
monetization.
cutscenes where you interact with these different love interests and, well,
By the way, there's actual gameplay in this game. Like, I've seen like 10 seconds of gameplay. This is not the gameplay. I mean, it is, but this is not the gameplay. Like, bro, the gameplay is literally it's like a fighter. It's like PGR or something. So it's like that.
I'll end up doing a lot of raunchy things.
Oh my
Yes, these
god.
can get
What?
really
I'm sorry.
spicy. And it really caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting this level of raunchiness when I streamed this game for the shits and giggles back in 2024 with the streamer Box 2.
Wait, am I giving him a lap
Oh
dance?
my
What's
God.
going on right
Oh
now?
my god!
Dude, what is this? We
He's
just get a free
sweating!
check.
Bro, goddamn!
We're
What?
literally fucking.
What's happening?
Is that my tits?
Hey, yo, is that your leg? No, that's your leg. That's your leg. Hey, man!
Okay, okay.
Holy mother!
Are they doing co-op? And they're each role playing as a man?
Was sweating and man. Hey,
Oh
hey,
no, he's
If this video gets like 100 likes, I'll play it.
bending me
Oh, he
over.
opened
Live.
your legs, bro!
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected on my end. So essentially, this is what people spend their money on, okay? Of course, seeing that this is a free-to-play game, you can earn this currency for free by playing, but many would choose to spend money because other than these raunchy cutscenes, you'd also be unlocking outfits for these love interests as well as gear
See,
that
look,
would make you more powerful
Like,
for story
bro,
combat sequences.
does anybody even care about this part of the game? Like, I'm a combat person. Why am I never seeing this?
Because this is an action game at the end of the day as well. All these elements combined would make this game one of the most successful gacha games of all time. Other developers in the industry would be so impressed that they would ask team members from Paper Games to conduct workshops or presentations talking about the logic and strategy.
Yo, were there any cosplayers? Like, did they ever do like a live booth where there was like
behind making this
cosplayers and
behemoth.
just people just
That was conducted back in March 2026 in the Game Developers Conference. It would be called
W Goons.
Designing Crush-Worthy Characters in Love in Deep Space. This would be fascinating because in this presentation, the lead character designer would describe how the team designed characters that millions of players became emotionally attached to. This emotional attachment would be why this game would make so much
my
money. The women
God,
playing this game
bro.
would sometimes spend money when they already had a good enough amount of currency. And they had two main reasons to do so. Number one,
And my goat, bro, ZZZ all the way. Bro, they're making like $2 million now, bro. This game is gonna EOS. Bro, it's so sad.
They're absolutely in love with
But it's
the
my
love
baby,
interest in
though.
the game, and they want to spoil them. And number two, they want to support the developer. This is not a mentality that you see for many things. Many women genuinely wanted paper games to make more money so that they can continue updating the game because no one else had ever made a game like this. And before you knew it,
Continue
this game was
gooning.
competing head-to-head with the giants of Gacha such as Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. By mid-2024, it was making tens of millions of dollars per month. So as I said, it was no wonder that paper games made over $1 billion in 2024, while also
That's
becoming the
insane.
#1 highest earning app on the Chinese App Store, which is a very big deal. But by the end of 2024, they would take it another step further, incorporating something that's not really present in mainstream gacha games like Love and Deep Space, VIP services. You would become
What?
a VIP if you spend a minimum of $690. And as soon as you reach tier 2, which starts at $2,100, you would receive gift boxes sent to your address. They'd have special
What?
merch and other little goodies. And when you get to the VIP 2 tier, you start
Wait,
getting personalized
they- Okay, he's getting to
gift
it. Never
boxes
mind.
sent to your address, with more exclusive items signed by your love interest in game once you reach higher tiers, with some being at a minimum of 5.
They
fucking
do
figures.
realize.
Look at
They
how
do
many
realize
people on the Love and Deep Space
these characters aren't
subreddit
real, right?
would post when they got VIP, like it's a celebration. And you know what's even crazier? These prices that I just showed you are exclusive to the Chinese server, taking into consideration their local purchasing power. But outside of the Chinese, Japanese, and South Korean servers, it has
Damn.
been reported, like in this thread right here, that the minimum for global players to become VIP is to spend around $6,000.
Let me guess. People still did it.
Almost 10 times the Chinese minimum. That is a lot of money.
Oh,
By March
God.
2025, Love and Deep Space would start outgrossing Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Uma Musume. I mean,
But nobody! And I mean nobody! Beats Pokemon TCG. Yup, I was grinding that earlier. I can't wait for the new pack. The new, what is it? The Dragon Pack? Yup. We'll be there.
about any other gacha. The CEO of Paper Games was hailed as a genius, and he would become a billionaire. He'd be interviewed by
Wow.
so many different publications. And he'd say that the reason for his success was simple, specifying it's not that women don't like to play games, but there are no good games for women to play. He'd also point out
There was
that when
a
it came to paper
joke
games,
to be made there.
70% of their workforce is female. So he wasn't necessarily
Oh,
the genius here.
Whoa. We got these people trying their own product. That makes sense. I mean, if I okay, wait, I don't know why I'm Pikachu surprise Pikachu face. If it was all guys working on this, I mean, there would be that
Who was
wouldn't
the
make
team
sense.
behind this game.
For
one
a
of the first times ever,
a
you had
secret
high-budget
society
game
of gay
for women
Chinese men.
made by women in the otome genre. And that's what so many other game companies were
Have the
missing. That's
Gooners
why games
make
like
the
Tears of
Gooner
Themis
game.
just couldn't really hit the mark. And this is how Love and Deep Space became a worldwide phenomenon, with billboards even popping up in Times Square. I mean, it would become such a phenomenon that you'd have media publications like Reuters making mini documentaries about how this game
Oh my
took
God, it's
over
like My
women's
Strange
love
Addiction.
lives. Listen to how they would describe
Silas, oh my God. Oh, if anybody messed with him, oh Jesus, they'd be dead where they stand. Ugh.
it.
要坐在你旁边的感觉。
Chinese civil servant Zhou is in a 6-month relationship with her first boyfriend. He's a wavy-haired, handsome painter. He's also fictional. Shiyu is one of 5 romantic interests to choose from in Love and Deep Space, the world's
Hold on,
biggest
you peeping this? 6-7 likes?
mobile dating game with some 80 million users, according to research firm Sensor Tower.
Damn.
80 million users. That is an insane amount of users. But yeah, this app did such a good job of incorporating itself into your daily routine that it kind of made it meaningless for many women to even seek out a boyfriend. It was that crazy. There'd also
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I'm for it. But like, bro. It's a man's job to be an incel. You know what I mean? Like, it should, like, girls shouldn't have, women shouldn't have to go through this! I'm serious, by the way. Like, dude, all they have to do is make a Love in Deep Space for guys. Like, okay, I hope nobody gets this far in the video and hears me say this, bro. I used to play Crush Crush. I used to play Crush Crush, bro. That used to be my favorite game. I'll admit it. I'm not too proud of it either. You know? We just need something that can match Love in Deep Space, but for
There'd be
guys.
a
I'm
couple
sorry,
different
bro.
documentaries by the publication South China Morning Post.
It's
In one of them, they talk
not
about
a
women that
woman's
would
job
specifically
to
hire
be an
cosplayers
incel,
to dress
bro.
up as their love interest from Love in Deep Space and go out on dates with them. And in another, they would do the same thing as Reuters. Talk about how some women were replacing real-life men with, well, Love in Deep Space love interests. Such massive success comes with its own fair share of critics. And by 2025, you'd have multiple media publications come up with a narrative that it's because of games like this, these otome games, that birth rates were declining. A lot of criticism would be directed
Holy
towards the
shit.
game and the women that were playing it. Some of these women would start blaming
Yo,
incel culture for this.
okay. As much as I'm an advocate of a woman, like, it's wrong for them to be doing this instead of, like, going with real men, bro. Like, I can't blame them because I'm putting myself in their shoes, bro. I'm literally them. Like, bro. Alright, this is embarrassing. But I've never been in a real relationship with a woman. For any amount of time. Like, I won't count middle school. I've never been in a real, like, you know, relationship, bro. So I can relate to them on that. But there's a reason for me to not, like, bro, listen, I'm fine where I am. Because, listen, as technology grows, I won't need all this, like, stressful shit, bro, that a real relationship brings. Think about it. All you need for an online relationship with Silas is a phone and an internet connection. You don't get all the real life stressing of, am I going to get rejected? Am I going to get cheated on? No, bro. Silas can't cheat on you. You know what I mean? But, like, I don't know. I just feel like there's... This might be a crazy take. I feel like there's so many more guys with this problem. Me included. Not proud of it, but it is what it is. I mean...
While others would point out that it's just simply because it's popular. This new
Like, there's a chance that if I was a girl, I would have a streaming career by now. If you think about it, bro. Just saying.
Could lead to some nasty
Just
fights
saying.
within the gacha community. Like how, for example, on the Chinese internet, some Love in Deep Space fans would go
Snowbreak?
head-to-head with
Yeah, this shit's
Snowbreak
EOSing, by the way.
Containment Zone
By the way.
fans,
By
a game
the
that
way.
heavily
Yo,
targeted the
wait,
male
I
demographic.
do remember Snowbreak. This was going to be the Love in Deep Space for guys. Oh my god. I don't know why it's
Things
EOSing
got
though.
very nasty there, and I would need to make a whole video to do it justice. But it did end with the government intervening and pretty much censoring the hell out of Snowbreak. But it's just an example
We can't have nothing, bro!
to illustrate to you how this huge wave of attention that this game got didn't only bring positives to the community. However, as long as the developer could keep the Love
Tell
in
me
Deep
these
Space
half-naked
community
men can
satisfied,
be here, bro.
nothing could stand in the way of
But
this
I can't have a baddie
money-printing
in
behemoth.
Snowbreak.
But
Even
with
though I've never
so
downloaded
much
it, but
attention and
it's-
expectations aimed towards this game, and with so much money being made, as time went on, it seemed like Paper Games was simply not prepared to blow up that much.
These guys look the exact same, bro. I don't get it.
And that lack of preparation gave them many more problems with their own community than they could have ever bargained for.
Am I racist for saying
So
that?
remember how I said that this game was all about how it made its own audience feel like they're being individually known and cared for? Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't just the game doing this. It was the developer too. Here are
What?
some examples. Throughout the year, there will be multiple time-limited events in the game, like other gacha games. And whenever that would happen, they would take the opportunity to make these educational videos directed towards their female audience that taught them different things that they could find useful, well, as women. Here's them, for example, hiring the Beijing
Remember to use your period
Olympic
tracker.
champion for judo. And in this 12-minute video, women who play this game would be taught about women's self-defense. Here's another example in which a faculty member at the Mental Health Education Center of the China Academy of Art would conduct a workshop about mental health. But this wouldn't just be limited to a woman's needs. Paper Games, being a Chinese developer, would also take this as an opportunity to teach their massive global audience about Chinese culture. Like how in this video, the director of Heritage Protection Division would teach the Love and Deep Space audience about China's cultural heritage. Them using the game's revenue
that don't
to fund
sound too
things
bad.
like this made many women express the fact that this wasn't just a community or a developer. This was a safe space specifically for women. You can see this expressed in so many of these different comments. I'm not really making it up. There are people saying that they're literally crying watching the self-defense video. And this
We have an imposter. So it's not only... I don't know why this is a surprise to me. There's not only women playing this game, but there are also gay men loving this shit. Loving it. Loving getting dicked down by Silas.
comment right here, I think, sums it up, saying, It's crazy and also super amazing how a dating simulator is inspiring me and others to take care of ourselves, recognize our self-worth, and even learn self-defense. This is what Love and Deep Space was for so many people. But unfortunately, as time went on, this priceless relationship built on trust would start having cracks form in its foundation due to bad decisions made by the developer, mostly related to the game itself. What do I mean by this? Well, let's go back to the example of Genshin Impact. It makes a lot of money, and in return, it's meant to give you constant updates. One update typically lasts for 40 days. Then the next update comes along with new events, and more importantly, new story, advancing the plot that everyone's playing the game for. I can never go back to Genshin, Every update would also typically have 2 brand new characters that you can pull for. And every year, you'd have a major update that would introduce an entirely new region. Now, as I mentioned before, Love and Deep Space does have a story mode. You'd have story segments that are in 3D. It's like a 3D visual novel, right? With cutscenes and voice acting. And you'd also have combat. This is easily, by far, the most important aspect of the game. Story is what allows you to meet the new love interest that released.
Bro, I haven't even, like... The only character it looks like you can play is yourself. Like, do they add moves?
While also advancing the plot with them in it. Because they interact with each other as well. They have stories that tie in together and they know each other, sometimes being friends. So while yes, many players get very excited about pulling for a banner because it involves a raunchy cutscene, if you had to ask them whether they prefer getting a banner of their favorite love interest or more story, the majority of them would always choose more story. But by 2025, it seemed evident that both banners and story content were just not meeting expectations. They weren't necessarily releasing fast enough for a game of this caliber, making this much money. And
use your money, man.
Would start arising within the community that the scheduling is too inconsistent and the communication is just non-existent. Genshin Impact had a new update every 40 days. That was well established. Other gachas functioned very similarly. It was simply the industry standard. But with Love and Deep Space, it seemed like they just released things on a whim, like as if they were winging it. When it came to limited banners, right, the ones that you had to pull for within a specific time frame, otherwise they disappear, there'd be mainly 2 types. A banner made specifically for one love interest, and a banner with all love interests combined.
Is this a tier list? No, wait, no. Just read, you fucking idiot. Oh my god.
Now look, when it comes
Is there a tier list for this game?
Combined banners, there's a lot of misinformation out there about how it works. I saw many, even Love and Deep Space players, saying that you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting the banner that you want. But that's not true. There's this mechanic that allows you to select the one banner that you really want and 2 others that you'd also not mind having. Once you hit a 5-star, you'll randomly get one of those banners. If you don't get your precise wish, the character that you wanted the most, then this mechanic guarantees that the next time you hit a 5-star, you will get the banner that you wanted the most.
Alright, so 50-50
So regardless
system.
of how many love interests get added to the game, whether it's 3 or 6, the odds will always remain
So it's just
the
them
same.
in a different
Now, I wanna make
costume
something clear.
with a different
Remember how I
scene.
said that Genshin Impact released a major update every year which involved a new region? Well, the version of this in Love and Deep Space is a new love interest. A new love interest signifies a new region. It adds more story, more lore, more depth. I mean, it was just the best thing you could hope for. But by the time the 5th character came out, which was Caleb, a certain...
Glad I stopped myself.
issue became very hard to ignore for the wider community.
I was about to say
And that
something
had to do with the fact
so
that paper
dumb.
games now had a workload that they clearly couldn't handle anymore. More characters coming out with their limited resources meant that some characters would be completely neglected in favor of newer ones. And
Hey,
this
they
leads
got
us to a wonderful
okay.
creation that I call
That's bro. They literally got power crept, and they don't like. They don't even show up in the combat. I mean, they do, but like
the neglect.
they got power
ranking.
crept.
I made this to really illustrate to you just how disorganized the release schedule of this game was, as if they were truly winging it. Now, as I said, the most important aspect of this game is story content, but for the sake of this argument, let's look at banners first. So as you can see, the most neglected love interest in this game is Xavier. His last banner was his birthday. This happens every year for every character, by the way. And it was 9 months ago. Meanwhile, Caleb was 4 weeks ago, and Silas was 7 weeks ago at the time of recording. Now, yes, you can make the argument that Silas and Caleb released after the initial.
How can you neglect someone in a game when there's only 5 characters? That doesn't even make sense.
3, but is it really fair to neglect 3 of your 5 characters in favor of the 2 newer ones? What if you played
Wait,
this game just for
what?
Xavier or Raphael? This was very inconsistent and showed that there was no real release schedule that made it fair for everyone. But if you thought this was bad,
Bro,
then
why don't they just
wait till you
release
see
a new
the main
male like
story
every month?
neglect ranking.
I don't get
Here,
it.
the most neglected is Caleb, the most recent character. The last time he was in the story was in January 2025, 18
Damn.
months ago. His debut arc when he first released. When it came to Silas and Zane, 14 months ago. And when it came to the most favored characters, really, in quotations, most favored, Xavier and Raphael were in the main story
Well, I thought it was Silas.
6 months ago.
Silusi.
This meant that the last story content for this game was on January 2nd, 2026. We're now halfway through 2026, and there was no new main story content, period. That's without mentioning the characters that haven't been featured in the story for way longer than 6 months. So in comparison to other gacha games of the same tier as Love and Deep Space that make as much money, this was ridiculous. They were inconsistent with their release schedule and were not communicative enough about things to look forward to, about dates. And let's also not forget
I
the
mean,
fact that
like, I would cut them some slack, but bro, you got $1 billion under your belt. It's like I can't give you handouts like that. It's like, sorry, I farted. Farted again. But like, you have to use this money that's at your disposal, bro.
they refused to make a PC client for this game, even though their other games had it. But this was the game that was making them the most money. And so as I mentioned, this would be a recurring topic within the community starting as early as 2025. It would cause multiple dramas with different points of views giving their opinions on why it takes so long to develop the main story and release content. But overall, the biggest loss for this game were longtime players that had spent a lot of money on it, losing hope that anything was going to change. Feeling like the money and time they were spending on this
you
game
know
just
what's the closest male people. Lord save us all. You know the closest us guys got to a Love in Deep Space? 5 Hearts Under One Roof. That's the closest we'll get. Until they make 5 Hearts Under One Roof like a big IP, bro, we're never going to get something like this ever again.
Like this money was being funneled to other projects, and Paper Games was simply not interested in making it any better. This would start forming a narrative that they were too greedy, prioritizing memories and banners and ignoring the story.
The death of every gacha.
They didn't really have what it took to be this big of a developer with so much success. They just weren't ready for it. As evidenced by the fact that things would get significantly worse because they would somehow commit an unforgivable taboo in their own local market of China. A mistake so grave that it perfectly encapsulates the expression of shooting yourself in the foot. 9/11 is a tragic event that would occur.
Wait, oh my god. You can't just jump like that. You can't just jump. Bro. Alright. That brings us to 9/11. What does this have to do with Gacha?
On United States soil on the 11th of September, 2001.
Another
It's best
ZZZ
known
banker,
for
by the
two
way.
passenger planes that were hijacked full of passengers that collided into the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. There would of course be 2 other planes involved, one that would crash into the Pentagon and one that tried to crash into the White House but failed. Now this was an event that happened over 25 years ago, and odds are, if I went to the US right now and made a joke centered around 9/11, everyone would find it funny, assuming I have good humor, except for those who were directly involved in those events, losing a family member, a relative, or a friend. I could
Yeah.
probably make a joke about Pearl Harbor, a tragic event that occurred during World War II. And again, the majority would probably not care. That's
Sadly,
just how
that's
culture
kinda
works
true.
in the United States when it comes to sensitive events. Nothing holds weight there for too long.
I don't want to get too into it, but it's kind of the same with the N-word. It's like, it can be funny if you're joking around with your buddies who are also very white. But like, you know, when it happens to me, I'm just like, eh. Let's get back
Now,
on
on the other
topic.
hand, when it comes to East and Southeast Asia, actually, you know what? Probably the majority of Asia at this point, but let's just focus on East Asia for now. Tragic events, no matter when they happen throughout history, still hold immense weight even today. Their dates,
Oh.
their anniversaries, their names, they are ingrained into society, and no one would ever dare joke about them. This cultural clash can be perfectly illustrated during the meeting between President Trump of the United States and
Wait,
Prime Minister
is
Senate
this where he made a joke about Hiroshima?
Takaichi of Japan. Trump would make a Pearl Harbor joke right to the Prime
Oh my god.
Minister's face and laugh it off. This is something perfectly acceptable
Look at her face, bro.
in the United States. This is passable. Takaichi, on the other hand, I mean, you can see the facial expression on
Oh
her.
my God.
She was mortified. If she would have made a Pearl Harbor joke, or hell, I don't know, a Hiroshima or Nagasaki joke in Japan, she'd get impeached within less than 24 hours. That's just how the culture works there. And so, this is why it was extremely clumsy and stupid and tone deaf for Paper Games, a Chinese developer, to release a lore chapter on April 2026 about the character Xavier, where they talk about human experimentation and other dark themes, while titling it Test Record A0731.
What does
Like,
that mean?
even if I hired someone to sabotage this company from within, they wouldn't come up with such a genius idea. When you say the 3 numbers 731 to any Chinese person who was educated in a state school, for example, they'll immediately think of one thing: Unit 731 of the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II. This was a
Oh.
secret research facility that was operated.
Bro, what? What if it's just a bunch of random numbers? Like, that's like me putting A.067. Like, bro, at the end of the day, it's just 2 numbers. Not gonna, like,
Between 1933 and 1945 on occupied Chinese territory, more specifically.
but
in
maybe
Harbin.
there was
This is where the Japanese
ball knowledge record. What the hell?
would experiment on over 200,000 human beings from China. They would say it's to advance medicine, but in reality, many of these experiments were just morbid and sadistic. I'm not going to go into full detail because I'll get demonetized and age restricted, but you can read about this yourself. I can give you an example though. They'd have pregnant women in captivity in Unit 731, and those babies would be born in captivity as well. Those incredible scientists would come up with the idea to experiment on those babies, but not like any experiments. It would just be like, hey, I'm bored. Why don't we throw like a few babies in this frozen river outside and see how long it takes for them to die? Yeah, I wish I was making things up, bro. This was Unit
Bro,
731.
what?
This is well known in Asia, specifically in China, because of how horrendous it was. But it's not really taught to Westerners. It's not taught in schools. In China, though, to this day, even in 2026, you say 731 to anyone, they'll know what you're talking about. There's a
Oh.
reason, many different reasons, that
Yo,
Chinese
China does not
still
play
hold
around with
Japanese
that,
people
bro.
in very negative regard, even in 2026.
Yo, if
This
there's
is that-
any community that does not play about what they say on the internet, bro, it's China. Like, bro, in America, like, you go to Twitter and that's the vocal minority. China, bro, they will actually,
me
like, bro,
mentioning
they
the
do
Rick of
not
Nanjing,
play.
for example. And so as a Chinese company, to have a lore text about human experimentation with the number
that's actually really
731
bad.
is just, it's insane. It's genuinely insane. But when it first came
But
out in
I
April
understand it now.
2026, it didn't really bring much controversy. In fact, most people didn't even know about it or didn't really care. The reason why I'm telling you about this right now is because this is going to bite them in the ass very badly later. For now, though, the Love and Deep Space community was laser focused on one thing and one thing only.
The new mail.
When is my story content going to come out already? But here's the thing, ever since the game released with 3 characters, there's always been a coming soon text on the bottom right, indicating that there's going to be more love interests to come out. And so when Silas and Caleb released, their updates were so major because they came with more story content, with banners, with all sorts of things. And so many were wondering when this 6th character was finally going to come out, because this meant more story finally after a 6-month drought. Well, around the end of June 2026, the Love and Deep Space community would finally get an answer to this. And while this was meant to be a period of immense joy and excitement, it ended up turning into the biggest existential threat that this game and studio have ever faced since opening their doors in 2012. Alright, so it's now June 22nd, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere...
By the way, I looked at Love and Deep Space on the Google Play Store. It's sitting at a clean 1.7. I think the game is cooked. But you never know, because Genshin Impact was sitting at like a 3.2 and that shit's still alive, so who knows?
Love and Deep Space players receive an in-game message telling them that they're about to witness a once-in-a-century supermoon, asking them to go watch a live stream that was going to take place on the same day. This really came out of nowhere, and it shows you that they're kind of winging it with their scheduling. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Something like this would typically get like a week's notice. In any case, the supermoon countdown would take hold. People waited with bated breath to see what this announcement was going to be, and then, all of a sudden, it was right there. A new character would be announced.
Ooh.
Valko. Half wolf, half human. And as you can see by the chat on the global live stream that has almost 1 million views, the community was at the chat.
Wait, you can see that one person. Ew!
Global live stream that has almost 1
Yes, choke him, girl.
million views.
Awoo, awoo.
The community was
Awoo. Not him tripping, lol.
extremely
He's so big, love it. Valko. Hearts, eyes emoji, hot
excited.
emoji.
All of them spamming ow like a wolf, unable to
I saw clown emojis. Please listen to your players. No one asked for this ugly dog. We want our LIs.
wait
Ones we fell in love with, not some Frankenstein's monster made from their parts.
to see him in action, both in combat but also the story, because a new character, as I said, signified a new region, so this was huge. However, in another live stream they would do shortly after, they would announce something else. Another major feature, which was the Home 2.0 update. You'd have a home that you can hang out with your love interests, and this time around, they were adding a kitchen where you can cook together with them and take pictures, etc.
So they're all in the same
However,
room.
in the announcement trailer, they would use this sentence saying, "Never bathe in the pot." This was very tone deaf, just like with the whole 731 business, because the Chinese viewers, they felt that it was in reference to what had happened back in the year of 2024. Where a man in Shanxi made the soul of his girlfriend evaporate to heaven by pouring extremely hot noodle broth on her using a pot. So due to this, the phrase bathing in a pot had become dark lingo online, referencing this specific case. For example, you could tell someone, hey,
he
go
got
bathe in a pot, and people would understand.
Yo, they do not play in China, bro. That is actually disgusting. What the fuck? In China, if you murder someone, you get the death sentence. I'm not saying we should do that, but maybe that would make people less want to kill randoms. I don't know.
And you weren't wishing them well. So already this was causing a lot of controversy, even though the new love interest was just announced and it was meant to be something very exciting. At the same time, in Valko's trailer, they would also use yet another controversial sentence while teasing him, saying, "Invite the wolf in." In the Chinese livestream, they had used a Chinese idiom, meaning to invite disaster by letting an enemy inside your home. Seeing that his character concept involves him breaking into the female protagonist's
Is
home,
that just
didn't
is it
help.
just me, or does that sound kind of dope? Like, okay, you have a character with like ulterior motifs, you know? It's like, is this guy evil? Is he gonna
What also didn't help was that his
Not
dialogue
continuing
included,
that.
"What's wrong with inviting the wolf in? Just peek inside and she'll open her door for you." So, combining this with the whole bathe in the pot controversy, some Chinese players felt that Love in Deep Space was packaging illegal home invasion as a romantic fantasy, using language that explicitly frames a
bro,
woman's
you know what's crazy, bro? Girls like that. Am I wrong? Like, I don't know how online I have to be to like understand this, but like, as long as a girl is like heels over head for some guys, like they be saying wild shit like, oh, I would let him do this to me, I would let him step on me, I would let him kick me in the balls. I don't know. Chinese
private
audience
space as
might be
available
different,
to
though. Who
enter
knows?
without consent. So this, on top of the whole bathe in the
Oh,
pot thing,
actually,
went
never
against
mind.
the idea of this being a safe space for women, and it caused a lot
I'm just
of
having the worst
controversy
takes
as
this
well.
video. Oh my god.
And if that wasn't enough, the Valko trailer that was posted on Chinese social media would get bombarded with over 750,000
He looks kinda hot right
comments,
there, though.
many of them very negative. Because many players would
Uh-oh.
express the fact that not only did they not feel safe around him because he'll break into your home or whatever, but they heavily disliked the way he looked, calling it too much of a Western look. Saying things like, can it be released on the international server separately? And telling the developer either go offline or make it look better. It referring to Valko. Here's this comment, for example, getting 300 likes. No obligation to support the new Western male lead, refund, and shut down the server. With many also expressing the same thing by saying, just please release it on the global servers and leave the Chinese server alone.
That's fucked. Bro, I'm not gonna lie though. I know this is like their new region. It's like the big update. And he is kind of ugly. But like, dude. They're overdoing it. I'm guessing the majority of their audience is
At the same time,
China.
very toxic elements of the Chinese community would sprout
No, no,
out and would start insulting
There are really so many Western white whales that you've freaking forgotten who your main donor is. Ooh.
Western players, calling them Western white whores while also telling Paper Games, hey, you fucking forgotten who your main donor is. You've forgotten who makes you the most money, us, the Chinese players. There will be some very nasty comments all around.
They gotta appeal
towards
to them.
Westerners.
Only beggars would be grateful for free stuff, right? Whoa.
Because of Valko being teased. But it wouldn't just be his Western look that would turn them off. It goes back to what I was
That's
talking about the community
outrageous.
grievances that had started spawning in 2025. The whole idea about the inconsistent release schedule, how some characters were getting main story releases and some others weren't, and for some reason there'd be complaints about the fact that the gacha odds are now worse with a 6th character. Instead of having a 1 in 5 chance of getting the banner you want, you have a 1 in 6 chance. I really have no idea why this
That's
became a
kinda
thing because I
ass.
explained in this video how the banner system works. I guess we can call these people LARPers. And on top of that, there will be complaints about inconsistent story narratives, saying that Valko is a core leader of a villainous group in the story that has harmed all existing protagonists. So in a way, some didn't want a romantic interest that hurt the other romantic interests. But honestly, this was surprising to me that this was even a narrative because even in his own trailer, it's explained that Valko is the Eon Core Tech chairman, not having anything to do with Ever. So this was yet another rumor that spawned on the Chinese internet that for some reason spread like wildfire.
So you're telling me all of this is because of China? China. Your Gooner game is no more.
Are you starting to understand why this whole topic is so convoluted? Like, I'm genuinely so confused half the time.
Bro, now I know why these Eastern Asian games always appeal to China. And it actually sucks. Because when they give China special treatment, it makes me not want to play the game. And when the games are trying to be equal to both sides, the people on the East are like, we made you! Do what we say! Or your game is dead! But I'm now realizing it's not only China, because Google doesn't exist in China, which means the 1.7 rating came from us Westerners.
Top of that,
So
for some
clearly
reason,
something
I guess
else went
maybe it's
wrong
a
here.
cultural thing. Many Chinese female players feel like a wolf or a bear character is gay. So there were many complaints that Valko was gay, actually. This was really something that you could find a lot on Chinese social media.
If you showed a picture of this guy to me and you asked me, do you think he's gay? Yeah. Yeah, I do think he's gay. Look how he's looking at me. Blushing. Nobody wears a shirt like this unless they're gay. I'll be honest, bro.
And I guess
Okay,
the
I'm
problem
lying.
with having a gay character
I'm
in
just
their
saying-
opinion
I'm
was
just
the
saying
fact that
stuff.
Love and
Sorry.
D-Space would attract gay male players, and they don't want that. They only want this game to be directed towards women. Now, on this extremely ratioed post on Chinese social media, they would do their best to communicate with their player base, to calm any grievances they might have and tell them, hey, trust us. For example, this is them replying to someone that called Valko gay, saying, all the male protagonists are heterosexual. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. And they would reply with things like, I'm sorry, after you've calmed down a bit from venting, could you please take a look at this wolf and give him a try?
Damn, they're
Please."
begging,
Damage
bro.
control was in full swing. But these replies would be posted on Chinese social media known as Xiaohongshu, and the comments weren't really
Xiaohongshu!
impressed. They really just didn't like the character, and they didn't really like the direction the game was headed in. This was in massive contrast to the global audience, okay? Like, this is Valko's trailer that was released on Twitter, and it didn't just get 5 million views and a lot of likes. Many of the top comments, in fact, all of them, were very, very excited for him. It would actually be hard to find any negativity on this post. Unfortunately, none of these players are
just
local,
Western?
okay? They're all outside of China, and the people
Yup.
that had a problem with
Knew it.
paper games were in China. It wasn't all of them, but it was a very loud and toxic chunk of the community. So much so that they would take this to ridiculous levels, sending literal cow poop to the studio. Many players would go around the building and take pictures of themselves giving a middle finger to the studio.
Oh, you put up the middle finger at my HQ. Oh, our game's oh no. It's so hurtful. It's so hurtful. Like, bro. That's like me losing a Fortnite match or Fortnite making a bad decision. Me walking my ass to Epic Games HQ and eat that! Like, bro, I'm sorry. As an unemployed person myself, this is unemployed activity.
And there were some that employed an
Like,
amazing
bro.
tactic used by South Korean crazy K-pop fans, which is also sending
Oh,
the studio
no.
funeral flowers. There'd even be a wolf paw
What?
in front of the studio meant to advertise Valko, and it would get vandalized. The police would have to show up and install yellow tape around it so that no one else messes with it again. And to make matters worse, someone live-streamed themselves with a knife in front of the building, trying to make their way
Okay, so I was right. This is a guy. I'm so confused.
in. Here are some images, with a third image being censored with the weapon. I wish this was a joke. Here's a 9-second clip
Like,
that was
dude.
recorded in front of the studio that kind of shows you the chaos that they were dealing with after Valko's announcement, with someone just screaming insults towards the studio. Watch.
Like, bro, for a normal person, and you seeing this is like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you're actually just like an odd human being, bro.
And so soon after, this would start being reported on by international media outlets. And on top of all
Just like, bro, at that point, just delete the game.
this, Love and Deep
Bro.
Space would lose over 1 million followers across all their Chinese social platforms. This was a very big deal, and it was becoming uncontrollable. No matter what they tried to quell the damage, it was done. But that didn't mean they wouldn't try anyway. On June 27th, 2026, just 5 days after the initial announcement of Valko, Love and Deep Space would make an announcement for the global audience in which they're
removing
say, Dear
him.
Deep Space Hunters, recently the development team has received a great deal of feedback and many suggestions regarding the game. We have also heard your concerns about the team's capacity to consistently deliver high-quality content in the future. So this has to do with their inconsistent updates, right? We would therefore like to take this opportunity to respond with the care that your trust and expectations deserve. From the very beginning, we have hoped to make Love and Deep Space a romantic world that continues to grow alongside every Deep Space hunter, a world filled with more diverse experiences and lasting companionship. This hope has guided us throughout the game's development and remains at the heart of everything we are working toward. The development of Valko and his related content is part of the long-term content plan for Love and Deep Space. However, we recognize that the way the information about Valko was presented did not give sufficient consideration to your expectations and concerns regarding the game's future content plans. As a result, many hunters have been left with questions and worries since Valko's initial announcement. We sincerely apologize for any frustration and unease this has caused. We have also heard your concerns about whether future content can continue to be delivered consistently without compromising on quality. Please be assured that the Love and Deep Space development team has continued to grow since the game's launch. The main story chapters you have been waiting for are currently in active development. The stories of Farspace Colonel Caleb and Onikinus leader Silas will continue, and the new series of Solar Slop memories will also be arriving soon. The development team will continue to deliver richer game experiences and high-quality content on a consistent basis. We also understand that these concerns are not simply about the pace of updates. They come from how deeply you care about Love and Deep Space and the love interests who have been by your side throughout this journey. It is because you cherish every moment you have shared with them that you hope this companionship will continue for many years to come. For this reason, we want to make this commitment to you. The stories, companionship, and future of every love interest will always remain an essential part of the long-term plans for Love and Deep Space. This will not change for any reason. Enclosed with this letter are Deep Space Wish 10 and Empyrean Wish 10.
Oh, a 10
Please log
pull.
into the game before
Yeah.
July 23rd to claim them from your in-game mail.
Hey, that always works. Apologems. Shit, bro. If you did a bad thing to my favorite gacha game, you gave me a 10 pull, I forgive you, bro.
Once again, we would like to thank
Hey, keep in mind, bro, a 10 pull is worth like $30.
every Deep Space hunter for the encouragement,
in
honest
the
feedback, and
mainstream
support you have
gachas,
given us
you know?
throughout this journey. We know that it is your unwavering love and support that give meaning to everything we do and guide us forward. In the future, the development team will keep working hard to bring you more high-quality content and a better game experience worthy of your support. We hope you have a wonderful day in Lincoln City and many more wonderful days to come. Signed, the Love and Deep Space development team. And so look, this was in reference to the fact that in this
that's not
game
bad.
there's currency. Currency you can earn by playing the game that you can also buy. This announcement for Valko came out of nowhere. Some people were probably not prepared, didn't save up enough to be able to pull for his banner, and they didn't really want to miss out on the memory. This was Love and Deep Space acknowledging that the announcement came out of nowhere and that in the future they would keep them updated ahead of time while also taking into consideration
good
that they should
communication,
probably have
devs.
a more consistent schedule that
That's
takes
lovely.
every love interest into account. This gave hope to many global players who might have had grievances with the game's development schedule, and many had a lot of optimism. However, global players were not their main concern right now. It was the Chinese players, and they were about to pull out a very dirty strategy to punish the developer into kneeling down and obeying their wishes, which is removing Valko from the game. And that strategy involves getting the attention of the Chinese state. And so, remember that good old test record?
So China brings this up, and then the Chinese government strikes the game down.
A0731?
That's
even though
that's
it came out in
that prediction.
April, it would get brought out again in June during the Valko controversy, and so a new narrative would form. Paper Games is an enemy of the state, and they have a Japanese mole inside that is there to mock the Chinese people and their suffering. So within just a few days after Valko had been announced, this narrative would spread like wildfire, so much so that it would force Love and Deep Space to make a statement on the 29th of June talking about it, as well as the other grievances the community
Is that
had.
recent?
It will be posted on the Chinese social media website known as Weibo. And here's what they'd have to say after translating it through Google Translate. Recently, we have noticed many discussions circulating online regarding the game and promotional content of Love and Deep Space. We sincerely apologize for any misunderstandings and negative experiences caused. Thank you for your continued attention, and we will humbly accept opinions from all parties. To avoid such content affecting the gaming experience of our players, we would like to clarify and explain these issues as follows. Number 1. Date controversy in the world's depths. Harmony with Light and Dust. We received feedback from players that the Harmony with Light and Dust update on April 21st contained a number that could easily lead to misunderstandings. We took this very seriously and immediately conducted an internal investigation. It has been confirmed that the number is a fictitious date, a placeholder without any actual meaning, and has not been packaged in any way. We fully understand the potential misunderstandings that this random number may cause and will complete the online modification as quickly as possible today. This issue exposed a lack of sensitivity among some members of the development team. We will strengthen training to prevent such situations from recurring. We will also further improve our internal review mechanism, paying attention to
if
every
they really
detail to
meant
ensure
it,
the
they would give
quality
a
of
10
online
pull.
content. Number 2. Controversy arising from some marketing copy. In the promotional material released on June 25th, marking 3 days until the livestream's countdown, the phrase "taking a bath in a pot" was accused of containing a suggestive reference. In reality,
I mean,
this
that
copy
is
was
a
teaser for the
weirdly
upcoming Home 2.0
specific name. Like,
updates kitchen gameplay, written in a non-everyday style to match
Taking
the
a
live
bath,
stream's
like-
Strange Tales of Rules theme. So this is badly translated, but what they were saying was the teaser was like in a horror theme, and this was meant to match this horror theme. This is why they used that phrase. It had nothing to do with that incident that happened in 2024. They would then continue and say, due to the widespread circulation of misinterpretations for this content, all related content has been removed to avoid unnecessary confusion for players. We urge everyone not to believe such rumors. Furthermore, the inviting the wolf into the house text in the trailer released on June 28th, The Law of Instinct, is simply a copywriting element related to the new male protagonist's werewolf identity and has no other meaning. We have noticed some controversy surrounding this text. To avoid affecting the player experience, this text and all related materials will be uniformly changed to Pure Love Wolf King. And then in the last part of the statement, they would clarify, we don't make characters specifically for one audience or demographic. This idea that it's a Western male character is just not true. And also, this rumor about us being an all-gender-oriented game is utterly absurd, ignoring our consistent positioning as an otome game. In other words, no gays allowed, okay? This is a...
oh, so that guy earlier is an outcast. Ooh, that sucks. Now, they're clearing this up on the Eastern audience, but now they're saying, oh, this one's only no gays allowed on this one. Oh, that's gonna get everybody mad on the west
They also
side.
defend themselves. As a Chinese company, we have always considered this our responsibility and have never stopped promoting Chinese culture overseas. Like, they just took a stand here and reminded everyone, yo, these rumors are absurd. We do so much to spread Chinese culture overseas to Western players. You saying that we only care about Western players and don't care about Chinese players is ridiculous. And so this post would get over 1.6 million likes, but also over 200,000 comments. The top comment would be saying, I'd rather take Valco off the shelves. With over 136,000 likes, the reply to that would be,
his name?
remove Valco from the platform. And another reply would say, our demands are, number 1, remove Valco. Number 2, compensate for gacha resources. And number 3, the production team should deeply reflect on their own problems and issue an apology, while promising to not add any new male leads. In fact, all the top comments are just shitting.
There's so... okay. This is like something that blows my mind, bro. Because some people are asking for more content, and these people are like, we only need the same 5 guys. It's like, okay, it's a game with limited story, limited everything, bro. Like, you should be glad, okay, that you're getting anything, you greedy little bastards.
Saying that they deserve all the controversy.
Are you
their way,
serious?
and that this was a bad statement. Now new rumors were popping up. Paper Games was arrogant. They don't know how to apologize. They don't know how to take a step back. They're an enemy of the state.
He's
And
outrageous.
they're not even apologetic about it. What didn't make it any better to Paper Games, honestly, is the fact that they would replace the 731 number with 611, which was another tragedy that involved Japanese forces invading the town of Daojia. 3,000 villagers were rounded up and killed, and you know how stories go with the Japanese, okay? They're literally the evil villains of Asia up until after World War II, when they became the anime central capital of the world. I really need to specify here, though, I haven't seen a single screenshot showing that whole 611 mistake. This most likely seems to be yet another.
This is off topic, but if World War II never happened, would anime be where it is today? Think about it. If World War II never happened, we probably wouldn't have Attack on Titan. Let that sink in. And I think about this one a lot. If slavery never happened, I wouldn't be as much of a blessed position I am today. Because I'll be honest, I'd rather live in America 1000% of the time rather than living in Africa. So I'm glad people in the past fought to where so I can live carefree today.
Another false
anyway.
rumor created on the Chinese internet
Sorry.
that spread even to the West. But like the other things so far in this video that you've seen, it had already spread like wildfire and created yet another rumor
Wildfire?
involving the CEO.
HSR reference.
Paper Games wasn't just an enemy of the state. The CEO also was. Why? Because he's
secretly Japanese.
University by the name of CEO
Wait,
also
what?
was. Why? Because he studied in a Japanese university by the name of Waseda University as an economics major.
I literally wanted to go there so I could study abroad. Yo. I might be a rat. Also, no, there was no way they would let me in this shit, bro. Like hell nah, bro.
So he was the internal mole. He was
You
the one
gotta
who put
be
731
smart
on
and
purpose
rich.
because he hates China. He's actually a
I'm
secret
neither.
Japanese citizen. But here's where things truly got out of control when it came to the whole 731 situation. I know, it already got out of control. They're being made to be an enemy of the state. How could it get any worse? Well, you would have multiple media outlets in China create articles in which they would attribute the number 731 with Valco.
Bro,
create articles.
am I wrong, or is this the most like Chinese looking character of all time? Like, how do people think this is Western? Because it looks like a wolf? Like, what do you make it into? What is a Chinese animal? A panda? A bear? Like, bro, I don't get it. Like, bro, okay, he's definitely not the hottest of the whole cast, but like, bro, he does not look
in which they would
American or
attribute
Western.
The number 731 with Valco specifically. You'd even have the news publication Beijing Daily, which is of course government affiliated, talk about this too, and talk about 731 and how it's associated with Valco.
Shit.
In reality, this was false. This was an archive file that was talking about lore relating to Xavier. But this misinformation had spread so far and wide because it was literally being talked about by news publications that many took it as fact. Oh, so Valco is not only ugly and looks like a Westerner and doesn't care about the Chinese audience, but he's
Wow.
also an insult to Chinese culture and China as a country because 731 is associated with his lore. That's false, and many Westerners also were caught with this misinfo, believing it to be true. This was becoming a very big problem
Oh,
to Paper
God.
Games, and these news publications were publishing shorts in which they talked about Paper Games' statement and were associating 731 with Valco. And other than just media publications, you even have associations, like the China Women's Association that is affiliated with the government, also make content expressing outrage at the whole letting the wolf in sentence, or the whole never bathe in the pot sentence, pushing the narrative further that this
Like, bro,
game is
in
not
this situation, you gotta go offline. Bro, you either gotta rug pull the hell out of this game, make it go offline, continue on with your life, live under the radar, move countries, or like, bro, you just gotta appeal to the Chinese, bro. Because they're like the Westerners can't do anything. If you don't appeal to the Westerners, you lose you lose a chunk of your money. But at least they won't come after you and try to kill you. China. Like, bro.
safe for women, that it's their enemy.
They
weren't
will
alone
go
this
in there
regard,
and
because
do
there
it
would be another
themselves.
association by the name National Defense Education that would make a blog post echoing those same statements. But believe it or not, things would get even worse. The people who wanted Valco gone wanted the attention of the government by any means necessary. And other than creating the narrative
Bro.
of enemy of the state, they would also do something else that's sure to attract eyes from the government at any given moment in time. And that is creating countless complaints to the China Consumers Association, saying that they got scammed by this company. Over 60,000 verified complaints were made in the span of just a few
Oh
days.
my
And honestly, it doesn't even
God.
matter if they're real or not, okay? This is a way that many Chinese people boycott or target companies that have screwed them in some way. Because at the 40,000 complaint mark, automatic safeguards get triggered at any given company. This means that automatically, the China Consumers Protection Agency contacts that company just to see what's going on. And
I'm pretty sure this happened with a Hoyo game too, right? Was it Genshin? where they like boycott and do all this other bull. You know, something China does, like, they go through all this trouble to try to sabotage the game, but deep down, that game is all they have. Because if you played this game for fun and you didn't like this, you would just delete the game. But like, they're literally like losing their minds over this. And even if the game gets review bombed, just like Genshin, it's still live and well, bro. Like, and if the game goes offline, then what? Nobody's happy. It's like,
So, with this unbelievable and unprecedented
What?
pressure that was put on Paper Games, even with them already addressing this and doubling down, kind of defending themselves, on June 30th, they would
Dear-
post a letter, pretty much
Dear Miss Hunters, they said, "Got that gay shit out of here, nigga."
announcing that they were going to cancel Valco's release and not release any more love interests in the game for the
They gave China what they wanted. Now, how's the Western audience going to respond to this?
foreseeable future. Just as a reminder, it had been barely a week since the first trailer for Valco, and they were already canceling everything. So this is like as if Genshin announced an entirely new region, and a week later decided to cancel the entire thing and said, hey, by the way, no more regions. The game's done. This also meant that all the story content that was finally going to come to the game after a 6-month content drop
Canceled.
was going to be canceled too. It genuinely could not have been
Yo. As a Western player, that would piss me off. Ooh, oh my God. Like, bro. These Chinese motherfuckers, bro. Yo, be grateful.
worse for anyone
Be
who
grateful
likes this
for
game.
for
To
your
announce
Valco.
such a big update and cancel it after barely a week, this had never happened, especially for a game of this scale. This post would be viewed over 26 million times and would have over 40,000 replies. Many of the top ones were ratioing it. They were in utter disbelief that Paper Games would bend to such toxic and loud people.
You're not listening at all to any of us. Valco was the only real good thing. So here's the everybody else like, oh, Valco, we need him. Well, the Western audience is saying, blah blah blah, kill Valco. So nobody's really winning. Right? Nobody is. I mean, what would a smarter developer do in Paper Games' shoes? Like, I genuinely don't know.
In the Chinese
Like,
community.
what can they
This
do?
game was created to make you, as a woman playing it, feel seen and acknowledged. And yet, with this announcement, they had essentially told all global players, we don't care about you even existing. That's how it felt.
Yo, and when a game does that, that's when I drop it. That's what happened with Persona, by the way. Because there's better rates and shit. Like, bro, I missed playing Persona the Phantom X. I missed that shit. And then they went ahead and just like appealed to China. And that's how Black Beacon died. Because they're trying to appeal to China. China didn't even care about that shit, bro. They're like, thanks for the pulls or whatever, but this game boy. This game boy.
Even though they were put between a rock and a hard place, even though they were cornered by what was going on in China, this still felt
actually sucks.
horrible for just about anyone who ever played this game. You go anywhere, whether it be Twitter, Reddit, any other place this community was present in, and you would see just the disbelief. They genuinely couldn't believe this had just happened. But honestly, if you took a step back, none of this really made sense. This was really overblown for no reason, and anyone with common sense could see that. A huge chunk of Paper Games revenue came from global players, so how come they were just forced to bend the knee so quickly? Well, that's because they had...
Here's the thing. You gotta stop appealing to China, bro. Like, no matter what, they're gonna still keep eating everything you put down because they're cuckoo for your game. You have to appeal to the West. And let me tell you why. Because the West has American money, which is very high value. Big American money. And two, the Westerners will delete the game. Right? They will delete your game. The Chinese will just try to sabotage you, but they won't stop playing. Because they're genuinely tweakers. Like, bro.
Become the worst thing you can
Why?
ever be in the country of China, becoming an element of chaos. Okay, so let's get one thing straight. There was a timeline to this, and it wasn't always about being an enemy of the state or whatever. This had started out with consumer dissatisfaction about Valco, about the fact that he looks gay and Western and all that stuff.
Shit.
But then Chinese media publications would start twisting.
Wait. They're not saying he looks American. Or Western. They're saying he looks gay, therefore he's American.
It to something way bigger than it actually was.
That's kind of funny.
It went from consumer dissatisfaction to women's safety to becoming an enemy of the state with 731 to paper games refusing
none
to
of
take
this
responsibility,
is
being
literally,
arrogant.
and none of
And
this is a
eventually,
problem.
because of how badly paper games was portrayed in media. This wouldn't just be about, hey, let's just cancel this character. This would be like, hey, you deserve more punishment as a company. You deserve to go bankrupt. And hence why they had become an element of chaos. So what is that exactly? Well, it's a term I came up with, I guess. But in China, the most important thing that has to be maintained is order. As soon as something goes against it, as soon as something interferes, then they become a problem. A great example of this actually happened to Hoyoverse back in 2021. The reason? Well, Hoyoverse had released a music video of Honkai Impact characters dancing in bunny suit outfits. They had not released it in China. Chinese players took grave offense to this and started calling Hoyoverse a traitor, an enemy of the state. Hence why someone tried to assassinate the CEO. Yes, it was over the stupidest.
Bro, you see what I mean? Like, bro, this is like unemployment levels the Westerners wouldn't even go to. That's like if I keep using Fortnite, but Fortnite. That's like Fortnite releasing exclusive Chinese like skins. What you want? Go get Tim Sweeney. Well, it's not. I guess it's not him anymore. But yeah, nuke the whole HQ. Like, brother, I guess I'm looking at the world differently because I'm really a free to play in most games. I don't buy microtransactions in games. I just buy the game. Like, that's literally all I do.
Thing imaginable, yes. But that wasn't even Hoyoverse's biggest worry, because
just
people
buy
would
the game.
employ the same strategy used against paper games. Mass reporting Hoyoverse to the Chinese Consumer Protection Agency and creating a narrative online that they are an enemy of China. Eventually, this would prompt them to delete that bunny girl dance music video off every
Dear
platform
Captain.
imaginable, while also releasing an apology. They would give their
Give me
players
that
some
10 pull.
crumbs as a reward,
Wow,
while giving the
500
Chinese players
crystals.
almost 3 times the amount of.
I didn't even know that happened. And this would be a situation where I would delete the game. But deleting the game is better than going to their HQ and trying to kill them. Or sending this to the government. This isn't fair. He gave these people more rewards. And the other government, bro, we have bigger fish to fry. Like, I swear, bro. But this, oh my god, if I still played this game, this would rub me the wrong way because I used to love playing Honkai.
Rewards, apologizing to them for doing this.
Like, boy, give me a
unforgivable
piece of that
thing.
pie,
I
bruh.
had made a video about this almost 2 years ago, so it really shows that even a company like Hoyoverse is not immune to this. This was after Genshin Impact had come out, by the way. The way they were able to get past this without any issues was by apologizing.
Like, bro, Himeko in a bunny suit? Damn. They missing out, bro.
removing the music video everywhere, and
They really were
having the
missing
CEO join the political party of China. This was him pretty much
What?
saying, hey guys, I'm not your enemy. I'm not a traitor. Look, because when the government gets involved, everything becomes existential. And this is exactly what was happening to Paper Games. On the 8th of July, 2026, the Ministry of Public Security would publish a statement about what was going on with Levin Deep Space. I mean, this is pretty much the government saying this. They'd say, recently, an online game targeting female players has sparked widespread controversy. The game features a storyline where the male protagonist breaks into a woman's home late at night, accompanied by offensive promotional slogans such as, "What's wrong with letting a wolf into the house?" packaging the illegal act of trespassing as a romantic encounter. This kind of entertainment-driven, traffic-driven creative work disregards public order and morality, crosses legal boundaries, and may ultimately endanger public safety. The safety of women
Oh
living
my
alone is a serious
God.
public issue concerning personal
You know
rights.
that feeling when you're playing a video game and something bad happens in a video game? This is like, bro, this is the equivalent of your mom sending Call of Duty to the government because people are getting killed in the game.
Social order and the protection of women's
Bro.
rights, and it is by no means material for arbitrary adaptation or
I have
meme
to
creation.
sneeze.
Chinese law
I hate when sneezes at you like that. Oh.
strictly protects citizens' rights to housing,
Goodness
and no one may
gracious.
illegally intrude. China's criminal law clearly stipulates that those who commit the crime of illegal intrusion into a residence can be sentenced to imprisonment for up to 3 years or detention. If a game packages such behavior as fun interaction, it may be suspected of promoting and glorifying illegal and criminal methods, which is not only a disregard for the authority of the law, but also a blatant transgression against the spirit of the rule of law. Even more dangerous is its intangible erosion of public perception. This creative logic that prioritizes traffic can easily mislead the public, especially causing cognitive biases in minors whose minds are not yet mature, weakening their vigilance against dangerous behaviors and seriously undermining the effectiveness of public safety education. I just want to point out that this game
I was about to say, like, bro, it's just a video game. But China treats like video games like your mother would. Like, they don't even let kids play games for more than an hour a day. So, I mean, they can get away with this shit in China, but damn, bro. Like, spawning as a video game in China, like, you're automatically, like, on hard mode.
is not for minors, okay? It's mature only, 18 plus. But still, this was the narrative and you couldn't do anything about it. They would then continue.
Wait,
Some might
Love and
argue
Deep
that
Space
games
is
are games
18
and reality is
plus?
reality. They shouldn't be confused. However, facts
Oh,
have shown
shit.
that online game content that crosses ethical boundaries can seriously negatively impact the healthy development of teenagers. In 2018, 15-year-old Xiao Tang became deeply addicted to a violent video game. Seeking the thrill of killing in the virtual world, he brutally murdered his 23-year-old female neighbor. This tragedy
Mathematically speaking, in the year 2000 and forward, there's a chance that every person who has murdered someone has played a video game that involves killing. Does this mean that's the reason?
case should serve as a stark
Outrageous.
warning to everyone. You then have an image of Valco, so Valco was acknowledged by a government agency as being a source of a problem, and then they would continue, the virtual space created by online games is never a lawless zone. Laws and regulations, such as the regulations on the governance of online information content ecology and the regulations on the protection of minors online, clearly prohibit the production and dissemination of content that may incite minors to imitate unsafe behaviors, induce bad habits, or violate social morality, thus setting a clear bottom line for the creation of online game content. As of now, all relevant characters and storylines in the game have been taken offline for rectification, a move that addresses public concerns. However, taking it offline is not the end. Deeper reflection is needed. This incident serves as another warning to the industry. Any content production that deliberately blurs the lines of illegality, glorifies dangerous behavior, or undermines public safety will ultimately be subject to legal sanctions and public resistance. So here they were acknowledging that Valco got removed, that this was the right step, But that deeper reflection was needed, indicating potentially even further censorship now that the game had a target on its back. They would then end this by saying, to address the chaos in online game content, a comprehensive approach is needed across the entire chain of creation, review, and regulation. Game companies must abandon profit-driven motives and improve their multi-tiered content risk control and review systems to eliminate misleading and harmful content at the source. Regulatory authorities should adhere to strict governance, refine review standards, and resolutely hold accountable companies.
This sounds
that
like,
overstep
okay, you
their
know what this
bounds.
sounds like? This sounds like me LARPing my autobiography. Oh, what do you want to be? How will you try to be better? Yes, I will sit alone in darkness every day and reflect on what I should do.
And violate regulations.
Okay, bro.
Simultaneously, families, schools, and society
just-
must work together to
just
strengthen legal and
music
safety
to-
education for
To
teenagers
the people's
and safeguard
ears.
the healthy growth
This
of
is
minors.
what they're playing.
The title of this, by the way, was Glorifying Intrusion is Unacceptable Even in Online Games. This was
Oh,
a
God.
disaster. Attracting the eyes of a government agency like this and having them
hell
write such a
no.
staunch article against you was the literal last thing you wanted as a Chinese company. You'd rather have your entire executive board get fired than this. Now look, the global side was already in disbelief, and I'm going to talk about how they did their best to fight against this decision. But seeing that Chinese media was talking about this and seeing that this article from the Ministry of Public Security had been made, many global players would start spreading misinformation. Like this person right here would make a post with over 2 million views in which they would write a fan fiction saying that someone powerful in the Chinese government got angered enough that now all otome in China could be permanently affected. Or how this post with over 1 million views would say that allegedly the dev team is threatening to leave Paper Games if Valko isn't reinstated. These things are not confirmed in any way, shape, or form. But this is what happens when the
2 years working on that chopped ass character. They had billions. Like I can't just write their meats the entire time.
developer
Bro.
of a game is on a different internet than yours, using an entirely different language. But global players, as well as many Chinese
Oh,
players,
shit.
were
Yo, you heard what they said, bro. Like, no men allowed, dude. Y'all are ruining it for the
aren't
females.
simply going to sit idly by watching their favorite game get destroyed right in front of them. And so, a global movement would be born overnight. A movement that is unprecedented in terms of scale that I have never seen before.
Calling it now, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, bro. They can't beat the Chinese pressure. Like they literally can't. Like, it's actually so sad.
Barely 24 hours after Paper Game's very unpopular announcement saying that they were going to remove
I don't like this soundtrack.
Valko from the game, a new topic would start trending on Twitter with hundreds of thousands of posts within 24 hours and millions of posts within 1 week. The hashtags Valko is loved and We Love Valko would go absolutely viral, and global players would demand that he come back home. As I mentioned earlier, this was overblown, and the audience for Love in Deep Space wasn't stupid. Oh, boo-hoo, he snuck into your home? Well, what about the other love interests? Silas kidnaps you, Raphael and Caleb stalk you, and one of them is your adopted brother that you grew up with as a kid, and then later on, when you both grow up, you're there just scissoring like chimpanzees in heat. This just didn't make any sense. And while
What?
yes, 731 was
Bro,
a really,
what?
really stupid mistake. It was in the game for 2 months before people somehow now finally noticed and took offense to it. It was overblown, it felt staged, and it just didn't make any sense. But Paper Games had made their decision. They removed Valko and actually took this seriously. And so
Bro.
the consequences immediately took place. If they thought that these toxic Chinese players were their biggest problem, they had no idea what they were dealing with. A huge chunk of silent Chinese players that weren't toxic and crazy would be very disappointed in
There it is. The vocal minority. This is why when you go to Twitter and you see people complaining from a gacha game, you can't take it as the entire community thinking that exact same thing. Because even I don't have Twitter. Okay? You have to realize people, a extremely large chunk of people who play gacha don't have their finger on the pulse of how their game is doing. Like, the majority of Genshin Impact players, I'm going to be 100% real. The majority of Genshin Impact players don't even watch the Genshin trailers. Like, bro, there's maybe hundreds of millions of people. I mean, okay, might be overblown, but like, let's just say tens of millions of people who play Genshin, you know, in a given amount of time. All of these people don't see what's coming out for the game as they're playing it. Then everything would have tens of thousands, tens of millions of views, right? These are just casuals. The casuals, you know?
Valko's cancellation. In fact, you can track revenue that
So
the
you
game
can't-
makes in China.
You can't expect the people on Twitter trying to blow your game up to be the majority of the audience. Just do what you think is right. You got yourself to this position where your game is successful. It's in your hands now. It's in your hands now. Now, I don't know what situation they would be in if they put Valko in the game, but it probably wouldn't be this.
And while there were many people
Anyway.
frustrated over Valko looking Western or gay or whatever, their revenue would only start taking a dip after they had canceled Valko, showing us two things. The
Bro.
first being that they might have underestimated how many Chinese players actually liked Valko, and the second being that maybe Western players also
Because
underestimated
engagement on these platforms is mostly negative. And that's very sad,
how many
bro.
Chinese players were going to boycott this game because of the whole 731 situation.
I actually don't know if that's true.
Within just a week, they
I'm
would lose
just saying.
50% of how much they would usually make. Within less than 24 hours, they would lose over 100,000 followers on multiple platforms.
Damn.
And eventually, they'd lose over 100,000 on TikTok and would lose so many on Instagram that they would end up privating their profile. They would also get
Damn.
absolutely review bombed on the Apple App Store with a rating that's now below 3 out of 5. And on Google Play, their rating is now
Damn.
1.3 out of 5. One of the most abysmal ratings I've ever seen. Hell, people were
Damn,
so
that's
pissed
lower
that they
than-
brought back a good old tradition that had occurred during
Is
the
that
first
Tap
anniversary
Tap?
of Genshin, which was not only review bomb the game, but also review bomb Google Classroom. If bad
Oh my
reviews
God.
start reaching Google Classroom, you know that this controversy is massive. At the same time, you'd have a petition on
Classroom taking
iPetitions get
strays.
made that has over 240,000 signatures to bring back Valko, and you'd also have a Change.org petition with almost 100,000 signatures now, with Change.org's own social media page making a tweet about it, bringing more attention towards it. One Levadices player would take this even further and report the game to the Consumer Protection Agency of their country, Mexico, because this was a false premise in their opinion.
Bro, your government has bigger fish to fry, bro. They are not worried about love in deep space.
This is a product, something was
Son.
advertised and then withdrawn,
no.
which makes it false advertising. All of Love and Space social media would get flooded with hashtags such as Bring Valko Back. Even their ads on TikTok would get absolutely flooded. Compared to this, what was going on in China was nothing. Everything here was being absolutely invaded. And to show the developer that this was financially a
my
really bad
God.
mistake on their end, someone would create a website in which you could enter how much money you spent on the game and attach a message to it. So far, the amount of cumulative money that was spent in the past by players who chose to support Valko is now over $15 million. I mean, look at all these messages behind that huge number. They were screaming to Paper Games that they were making a mistake here. But while the frustration is understandable and their socials being brigaded was to be expected, what really stood out here was how a big chunk of the global audience decided to protest. While Valko haters were busy sending manure and other things to the HQ of Paper Games, the global audience that wanted Valko in the game decided to instead use their money for good. Some would fundraise enough money to buy a billboard in Times Square saying "Bring Valko Back," and this billboard
Okay.
crowdfunding strategy would occur all over the world, in New York, in the Philippines, in Malaysia, in Thailand, hell, even in Peru. This was them truly showing solidarity between each other, even though they came from such different countries and regions.
So, what if they're seeing all this and they already deleted all the files? So none of it's ever coming back. That would be actually... That's when you EOS.
But I mentioned this audience using their money for good, and that's exactly what they did in Valko's name. They would donate to a women's shelter in Canada. and say that this donation is from Valco.
Okay.
They would donate over
Wait, a women's only
$44,000
shelter?
for the Guangxi flood relief in
I
Valco's
didn't even know that
name as well.
existed.
This was a place that was hit by severe flooding in China, and these Valco enjoyers
Wow.
were pretty much helping them out. You'd have 11 Deep Space
Wow.
player that normally spent $1,500 every 2 weeks on the game decide to
What?
instead use that money to feed over 400 dogs in 3 different shelters, while again doing so in Valco's name. There are
What
so
country is that, bro? Use that money for yourself. Jesus Christ, bro.
many
Y'all are
examples
spending all this
like
money
this,
for the wrong
with donations coming
reasons.
from global players
I mean,
for
it's a
Chinese
good cause
causes
now, but like-
wildlife conservation, or uniting to save an endangered species, or raising money over $20,000 for wolf conservation because Valco is a half wolf guy, and also donating over 100 chocolate milk bars to 100
Wow.
kids in Indonesia, all while using Valco's name and appearance, making him out to be a symbol of hope rather than a symbol that threatened women's safety like in China. All of this was done in the hope that on July 9th, when 6.0 would come out, Paper Games would change their minds. They would still decide to release Valco even though they canceled him. And they would take this activism even IRL, because Love in Deep Space would have a booth in
it's
Anime
kinda
Expo
hot.
in the US. There, they'd have different cosplayers meant to represent every love interest. But unfortunately, it seemed like there was one booth meant for Valco that was canceled last minute. So what did they do? Did they bring cow poop or a weapon? No. Instead, they'd go around asking people to pick their favorite lad by placing a star
Wow.
around them, and Valco would receive the most stars. This was a
If you want me to be honest, though, he is the most chopped out of all of them. That is unfortunate. Maybe he is Western. This is like what the Chinese is like their ideal boyfriend, and this is like your average guy. You know?
again meant to showcase the staff that we want Valco back. But while they did make it to Anime Expo, on July 8th, they would start canceling different events that they were meant to attend. Like, for example, an event that was meant to take place in Japan, saying, after carefully reviewing the event content in light of changes
Yeah, we're
to
not
the
trying to
in-game
die out
content,
there.
so removing Valco, we have decided to cancel the event. On that same day, they would also announce the cancellation of a massive event scheduled for Bilibili World, a huge event in China. And
Yeah,
so
they're
by
not
now,
doing
this
that.
was attracting all sorts of global media publications, with Jing Daily publishing an article titled, China's top Otome game lost 70 million hearts in 10 days. Hell, even TV news channels were talking about this too. And hell, even Queso would talk about this somehow. A chatter would tell him about the drama, Queso would look into it and say, Love in Deep Space is wrong for scrapping its newest character, saying they didn't bring out the character because the
Not
fans said he was
Queso.
ugly, that's messed up.
He talks
So look,
about it, you
all
know
of
it's
this
over.
was meant to raise awareness, but also showcase to the Chinese government agencies that this game was not an element of chaos. It was an element of goodness. These donations in Valco's name were meant to spread positivity and goodness across the world. And to be honest, they did. Objectively speaking, that's exactly what they did. Instead of fighting fire with fire, the global audience decided to fight fire with good, with water. It was also done to show
This
Paper
is such
Games
a
just how
wholesome
much of a
story,
mistake
man.
they were
Hopefully,
making by listening to
hopefully
the
there's a
toxic
good
side of their
ending.
fan base instead of the good side.
Does he know? I actually
The
don't
one
know
that was
what
willing to
happened.
donate hundreds of
At the
thousands
end
of
of all-
dollars to
all this.
charities in Valco's name was the one who was really being hurt with this. The hope was that on July 9th, Valco would still somehow show up when they would open the app after updating. But unfortunately for them, that day would end up being the darkest in this community's history. On July 9th, 2026, the 6.0 update would come out for 11 Deep Space. Many players downloaded it hoping to open the app and find Valco waiting for them there. Instead, they found
Nope.
nothing. No Valco, no new main story, just the new kitchen feature, and that was just about it. Some people would have issues downloading this update, and so 11
update.
Deep Space would make this post saying, today's update has concluded, while giving some pointers as to how to fix these errors, like reinstalling the game, for example. This would be the last post on their socials up until mid-July. And so everyone would take out their grievances right
Wait,
here.
what?
It would get over 17,000 replies. Again,
Trust
ratioed
me.
multiple times with people in complete disbelief. How could you? Instead of listening to the good side of the community, people who are willing to put money where their mouth is and donate to good causes in Valco's name, how could you listen
China's
to the
number
toxic
one.
people who send you literal cow shit to your offices? The global players felt like someone had put a knife in their back. And what didn't help was that this update was extremely buggy. I mean, there are certain things in here that my nightmares wouldn't even be able to conjure up.
What the
Like, what is this?
yo, he looks like one of those abnormal titans. Bro.
What is this? Like, how does this even happen?
Yeah. No, wait, that's. Am I gonna? Oh, oh. Sorry, bro. This is hilarious.
Like, I don't even know like what kind of code, what like, how does this even occur? Here's my favorite glitch personally. What the fuck is that? Anyway, the first thing
Got
that
room for
players
one
did
more?
after not seeing Valko
Yo,
was
that's
go to the love
actually
interest
hilarious.
character selection screen and see whether the whole coming soon text was still there. And to their extreme disappointment, it wasn't. It seemed like Paper Games was intent on the promise of no more new characters. This was the worst possible news for just about any player. The community was devastated. This was a character they were very excited for, that they couldn't wait to interact with, and he was gone as quickly as he had arrived to their lives.
And now
Slowly but surely, any
everybody is
remaining
doing
hope players
posting.
had was being removed right in front of them. Like, for example, the Valko channel and the Love and Deep Space official Discord server would be deleted after the update would go
Damn.
live. And after all this time, things were really starting to set in for many players. So we're just getting a stupid rerun of a banner instead of a new love interest, a new main story update, new cards, new myths, new poses, new interactions. This wasn't just about Valko. This was the biggest update of the year, and all of a sudden, it's not coming anymore. And remember how people were now fearful of further censorship now that the game had
Damn.
attracted multiple government agencies? Well, that's exactly what happened. All the love interests had a certain theme of an outfit in which they had numerology on them, numbers that signified different meanings. Well, they were all censored or just straight up removed. Look at this, for
What?
example. It said 95, now it says gibberish. This was no doubt done to avoid any other 731 issues.
Oh.
And that's simply what
Okay.
happens when you
Well,
become
I
an
mean, as a
element of
Gooner girl, I
chaos
wouldn't
in
really care
China.
about this.
Many global players and
gonna lie.
even Chinese players warned these extremely toxic and loud fans in China that any censorship, any removal of something in
All right,
the
but
game
this is like
was
weird though. Day 17 without Valko. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. Honestly,
So
this is
even-
a sign for any other company who wants to take the initiative on the male Gooner side of things. First of all, I don't know is there a gacha game that's not Eastern Asian? Like, is there an American gacha game? I mean, at that point, it's just Okay, no, there was a series of thoughts in my head that were going to spill out. I just decided to not spill that out because that's not going to be a good words.
more
Yeah.
censorship. And that's exactly what was happening. What added more fuel to the fire was that some rumors would start spreading about the role that Valko would have played in the main story, like the fact that he was the one who fixed Caleb's arm, or that he's a friend to Zane. These dynamics between the characters in the story is exactly why people played Love in Deep Space, and there they were, having to watch it get confiscated from them. And so people started drawing up comparisons to another game made by
Oh,
Paper Games
damn.
called Infinity Nikki, which I made a video about around a year ago. That game had sudden censorship one day, where its tutorial level, its
When a company twice, they made Infinity Nikki.
actual lore was changed for no reason. It was retconned, and even though the community had boycotted the game for months and created a large movement around it, Paper Games didn't budge. That terrible tutorial level is still there today.
They made Infinity Nikki? Hold on. Let me go to Google Play. Hold on. Is that game still alive and well? Oh my god, Infinity Nikki. I mean, this is Genshin's rating right now. Infold? Did they change their name from Paper Games to Infold? Love in Deep Space. Infold. So, it is the same thing. Damn. And by the looks of it, the guy is not here. Damn. Xavier, Raphael, Zane, and that's it. Damn. Damn.
And what was also
that's
interesting is
tough.
that the update that removed the tutorial level came with a lot of bugs. So at this point, it almost seemed like it was a pattern for any game Paper Games had made. and it didn't really inspire optimism. This was really the worst case scenario, but bear in mind, not just for global players, for Chinese players too, even the toxic ones. This Chinese player here would make it very clear in a post they made on Weibo. They'd say that with this outcome, everyone loses. More importantly though, this game was a great outlet to promote overseas players' understanding of Chinese culture, as well as Chinese success. Now, many of the players that were affected globally are not just vowing to boycotting Love in Deep Space, they're vowing to boycott any Chinese game. This player would go very hard on these toxic Chinese players, blaming them for halting the success of a Chinese company and therefore a Chinese cultural export, while also lamenting the fact that this game was pretty much ruined, as well as its reputation in anything made in China. This also led many Love in Deep Space players to look forward to a competitor's release called Silent Whispers, another 3D high-quality otome game in which they hope to be treated better. This trailer right here was released 2 months ago, and all the top comments are just people being like, use this fumble from Love in Deep Space to rise, or goodbye Love in Deep Space, hello Silent Whisper, because this game would also be giving them something that they wanted for a long time, a PC client. It seemed like they were actually listening, unlike paper games. But it would take a lot at this point to fully crush all hope that the community had for Valko releasing. One player would point out, hey listen, when 3.0 came out and Caleb came out, he didn't come out on the first day of the update, he came around in the second half of the update. So in other words, hey, when the second half of this update comes out on July 17th, let's hope that we'll find Valko there waiting for us. What they'd end up finding instead though, pure and utter disappointment. At this point, Love in Deep Space Chinese revenue was doing horrendously bad, worse than it's ever been. On one day, they'd maybe make $200,000. Now they were making $60,000. Yes, it's still a lot of money, but it's...
I was about to say, bro.
Less than half of...
Wait, is this in a month? Oh no, that's in 6 days. Shit,
they
bro.
made before. This showed that the Chinese audience, genuinely, the majority, the people who actually spend money, were outraged still at Valko not being included. And these were the consumers that mattered. And at the same time, as people were hoping that Valko would come in the second half of the update, they'd get an in-game notice saying that actually the second half would have a heartfelt gift for Zane, a free 5-star memory in which you interact with him. Now what's interesting is that the official social media accounts wouldn't make this announcement. As I said, it's been a ghost town since the 9th of July. It would only be announced through an in-game notice, okay? So further making their communication style even worse, and going against the promise that they made at the end of June saying we'll communicate more with you guys. What was really interesting though, was that there would be this Twitter account with the handle Z, with a Zane profile picture, that would leak the trailer for this memory, something that was meant to be posted by the official social media accounts. Once enough people found it, the account would delete itself. Many players pointed out that they didn't like the trailer because the face of the protagonist, which is the character that you create, the woman that you create.
So they're not even self-inserting. Daughter. So they're in the cuck chair for their daughter, in a relationship with this person.
Would be hidden throughout the trailer. The reason why this is a problem is because many Western players like to self-insert themselves into the game, while Chinese players don't like that. It seemed like even with this trailer, there was still trying.
And this is why, bro. These female gooners are so ungrateful. Just, hey, Infold, paper games, make Love in Deep Space too, but make it for guys.
The most
That's
toxic
how you win.
players in China.
That's
However,
how you win.
Even after all this, there was still hope because something positive out of China would come out on July 15th, 2026. Various media outlets would publish positive reports related to Valko, ones that might be deemed as government affiliated. To be specific, there'd be 5. The first one being Reform Network, the second one being Tencent, the third one being Business Daily, the fourth one being NetEase, and the fifth one being Phoenix News. However, by July 16th, 4 of the 5 would be deleted, and only 1 would remain. And that would be the one posted on the website of the National Development and Reform Commission, otherwise known as the NDRC. The 4 others would be paid ads, and it would be mentioned at the end of the articles. I don't know whether it's players wanting Valko back that paid for it, I don't know whether it's Paper Games that did that, but it caused a lot of confusion. The reason why this article was a big deal was because it was somewhat state affiliated, and it talked about the efforts being made to bring Valko back globally in a positive manner. It would say, with overseas players continuing to voice their opinions, how can Chinese games translate global feedback into increased content?
Hey, you know what they should do? Make it exclusive to the global servers. Yup. Make it exclusive so the Chinese can deal with it. You're going to have to go down with the Chinese ship, okay? You're going to need to tell your Chinese brethren to lock in and stop dooming on the game. Okay, y'all, I mean,
July
that's what
15th,
I would
the
do.
main petition on the overseas
just-
petition platforms, iPetitions, demanding the
But you know,
reinstatement
bro,
of the
you
romantic
can't be
character Valko in the game.
Actually, that's
Love and
not a
Deep
good
Space,
idea.
had garnered over 240,000 signatures and 80,000 comments. Meanwhile, on Change.org's game petition page, 3 main petitions related to Valko received 96,000, 21,000, and 5,900 signatures respectively. This 2-week-long cross-platform participation indicates that overseas users' demands have not subsided quickly despite the character's removal. Following the cancellation, overseas players' actions gradually expanded from petitions to fan art, charitable donations, and offline events. Unlike the initial comments and emotional expressions that emerged during the early stages of the game's controversy, the actions of overseas players have now continued beyond the originally scheduled launch date. In the comments section of the main petition page on iPetitions, some users stated that they were inspired by Valko to download, return to, or continue following the game, while others suggested compromises such as delays or modifications before release. This article will then take this further, giving us numbers, saying that 60% of the revenue from the game comes from China, but that the rest comes from global players, highlighting just how important their opinions are. This was significant because up until now, everyone's data points were all over the place. This is a privately held company and they typically don't really reveal the demographic portions, but seeing that this is a government-affiliated publication, these numbers hold more weight. And what really made Valko enjoyers optimistic while reading this article would be one of the final paragraphs, where it would say, whether Valko will be reinstated should be determined by Paper Games based on content quality, market data, and long-term planning. However, the continued growth of overseas petitions has provided a significant signal. When a character can generate signatures, creative works, charitable activities, and offline actions in multiple countries and regions, re-examining and product validation of them is not merely a response to public opinion, but may also be a repricing of global user needs and existing content investment. For a leading product like Love and Deep Space that already has a global user base, turning this feedback into richer content offerings and more refined overseas operational capabilities is perhaps more valuable than letting related demands remain outside the game in the long run. So for many Western players, this was as if the Chinese government was telling Paper Games, hey, whether you want to keep shooting yourself in the foot or not, that's just up to you, we don't really care. But you should probably reinstate him. So as I said, for many, this article was a celebration, like, oh my god,
all right, well,
and they kind of are. This article acknowledged all the good things they.
Is it announced? Are they going to bring him back? Because I don't see it here. Let the video okay, sure.
I'll
let it
These
finish.
news were reaching China, which was wonderful. At the same time, it also see Chinese government agencies reminding people that malicious reviews, harming the reputation of businesses, online harassment, use of bots, paid accounts, AI-generated posts are against the law. So again, to many, this felt
Chinese
like they were
W?
this towards people who engaged in this behavior against Love and Deep Space, and that they were about to get in trouble with the law. This again signaled to people that, hey, maybe things are finally calming down. Some Chinese players would even use a VPN to get on Twitter to thank overseas players for the positive engagement they were bringing to the game and to Valko. Like this post saying, overseas sisters, without you all, none of this would be possible. Honestly, it was very wholesome. It was wonderful how a community so large could work together regardless of borders or distance or culture. But of course, in parallel, the toxic Chinese players had a movement of their own. And there was coordinated effort on Chinese social media to counter any positive news coming out from Valko fans. But we just read a government-affiliated publication just highlight these positive things,
like a
so I don't know if
civil
it's working
war.
that well. When it came to Love and Deep Space, though, as I said, they had a total media blackout. The only thing they had said ever since the July 9th update post would be a Facebook reply about winners of some giveaway or something or competition. Here, they'd indicate that they were going to post again.
Look at the comments. 36 angry faces.
29th, talking about the winners. While of course getting like 36 angry reactions. Does this mean that their media blackout will last until the 29th and then they'll post again regularly, maybe updating the community? Who knows? But so far,
it's
as
not
I
even the
said,
29th
total
yet.
media blackout, even with a new free memory coming out in-game, still nothing, and no trailer as well, of course. So look, overall, the ball was now in the court of Paper Games. Are they actually going to bring back Valko? Or are they going to listen to this disgusting, toxic side of their community and throw their global community that's willing to donate to charities in Valko's name under the bus? It remains to be seen. But honestly, seeing that they had made the terrible decision of removing Infinity Nikki's amazing tutorial and backstory and refused to change it even after massive backlash and a big boycott, I just don't know if this developer is capable of listening.
Even still. Infinity Nikki is sitting at 3.5 rating now. And look, it was at 36K, now it's at 50. So in their eyes, it really
the
looks like
community on such major
they don't
issues.
have a
This also might
reason to do
truly
that.
be out of their hands. This might be out of their control completely, but we don't have proof. We can only assume on what's going on behind the scenes, and I prefer not to assume.
Like, you have to realize, bro, like, they already had an assassination attempt. Like, it's the CEO of Paper Games is probably scared for his life. Like, even if he wants to appeal to the majority of the player base, they are much more kinder than the small majority, the minor majority of Chinese players who will get it back in blood if they don't get what they want. Like, I'm genuinely curious if the Chinese players are happy with the update that they have now.
And I do
Like,
hope
genuinely.
that Valko is brought back to this game. If you had
Like,
to
if
ask
they
me, though,
bring them back, he makes hella money. Bingo. But you have to realize, is hella money worth his life? Because there was already an attempt on it. It's like, what would I do? I'm making hella money, but I'm releasing this burger that's controversial where I live. And people know where I live. But if I release this burger, I make hella money. But I also, like, have a chance of me getting assassinated because the burger is apparently illegal. Or not illegal, but controversial where I live. So boom, I release the burger. Somebody tries to kill me or threaten my family. But I'm still making money. Or I just release the same old burger I've been making for the past 5 years. I make less money and I keep myself safe. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, the CEO they don't, like, bro, he could rug pull this. He could just pull out EOS the game, live comfortably for the rest of his life. So serious. He
I'm
doesn't.
not very optimistic, but hey, seeing that this community has been
I
very
don't think he's
optimistic
coming
and
back.
donating to so many amazing
I'll be
causes, you know
honest.
what? I'll change my mind and be optimistic too. Let's hope for the best, because if that happens, it'll be a wonderful story that will be never forgotten on the internet. And with that, I want to thank my wonderful community for making this very comprehensive Google Doc about the entire incident involving Valko, with sections like speculations, a glossary for people who have no idea
Hey,
about
W
the game and the
community.
different terms used, memes, Twitter links. I'd even asked them to do this. They just did it by themselves because they're so passionate about this game and the community. So thank you to I, Dea, Doc, Jin, Helianthus, Laurel Doll, Mimi, Ray, Red Rose, Sen, Starfall, Watt,
W to
and
those
Wolf.
people.
You guys are the best.
So yeah,
And if you want to propose topics,
moral of the story. Don't be born in China. All right, but seriously, if you want, like, if I'm going to be honest, they didn't change anything with Infinity Nikki. They didn't change anything with Infinity Nikki after it was absolutely bombarded, and they didn't need to. Because the Chinese players who dogged on the game are still going to play it at the end of the day because they have nothing better to do. For Love in Deep Space, they're going to play it safe because they want to appeal to the vocal minority in China who has their pitchforks out ready to kill. All right? That's a difficult situation. And I'm not going to lie, it's a bad one. Like, bro, I don't know. Actually, I can't say because I'm not. My life isn't at stake. Theirs is. So actually, like, I don't know. It's a really difficult situation. Um, yeah, actually, moral of the story is, don't move to China unless you want to get outcasted and uh life threatened. And yeah, that's that. Shout out to Muujin for the video. That's a great video. Oh, bro. I first saw this video. I did not know it would blow up to that. Good for you. The video will be linked down in the description. And yeah. GG.